trying to keep us distracted. It's free to pay attention. Yeah.
Don't be distracted by the beams that people put into play. Instead, focus on the freedoms people tearing away. It's all confusion. They turning UFOs into UAPs. To test the public on the subject, change the mood and see how we react. Knowing we've been visited back before Egyptians stacked stones with exact mathematical dimensions with attention to match. Before the days of Pangea when the continent cracked. Stupid humans just been covering tracks. Earth is just a puddle in the sea of what's been attached. I know a couple hybrids living on the planet. In fact, they might be living next to you. You ever think about that? Be the vibe. If you're feeling lost, tune to the tone. We might be living in a dome, but we're never alone. Send a rocket to the moon, let it curve on its own. It's a distraction, but that's all that I can say on this phone.
We're caught up in a blue beam, distracted by design, while shooting down illusions, indoctrinating minds. They wanna see us panic, to put us back in line. The people have awoken and see right through the lies. It's all a distraction. It's a part of the game that we play. They don't need a reaction. Don't you give them the strength, meditate. It's all a distraction. But the people are finding a way to take positive action and spread truth to the ones that
hidden right in plain view, blueprint has been laid out. Played rat in the maze, getting stuck in the same route. Lost, feeling exhausted, breaking the frame down. So breathe, raise your vibration and phase out. Resonant, every thought's related to fate, and they don't want to let you know that you're designed to be great. Who's that? Good question, start checking your mate. They play chess, not checkers. In the darkness they wait. Peep the games that they playing. Using holograms till they got the praying, and that's all that I'm saying. Project Bluebeam and the plans that they laying get me hotter than the flames that surround Super Saiyans. God-like, like the godson that be star bright. Living in the fractal, speaking to evolve like an oceanic alien that no one was on sight. Reminding you to never get distracted, it's alright.
we're caught up in a blue beam, distracted by design, while shooting down illusions, indoctrinating minds. They wanna see us panic, to put us back in line. The people have awoken and see right through the lies. It's all a distraction. It's a part of the game that we play. They don't need a reaction. Don't you give them the strength, meditate. It's all a distraction. But the people are finding a way to take positive action and spread truth to the ones that relate.
See, it's divided, so they feed us negativity. They put it on the plate and we just eat it up for dinner. See, we allow the panic but never address the lunacy. The current currency gotta be some foolery. It needs to flow with unity, floating with opportunity. Abundance is a class and I'm waiting for God to tutor me. Teach me and let me reach all the people that need the guidance. Allow me to give them visions of all this positive knowledge.
It's all a distraction. It's a part of the game that we play. They don't need a reaction. Don't you give them the strength, meditate. It's all a distraction. But the people are finding a way to take positive action and spread truth to the ones that relate.
Don't get distracted.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Rye from Codega's Codex of Curiosities.
And I'm Brad from the Awakened Podcast. What's up, everyone?
And welcome to another one of our resemblance of Coast to Coast, Sea to Sea call-in show. Yeah, I know, right? That was definitely a Freudian slip. You know, it is exactly what I'm trying to, what I want to model this after, because who never I'll be honest, I'm a latecomer to Art Bell, but I love it. Loved his stuff. I love what he did. Not really Coast to Coast now. Of course, that's a hard act to follow.
I actually never listened to Coast to Coast ever.
Oh, it is. You got to listen to the classic ones. Like you can find. I'll share with you a podcast stream, and it has all the classics on there, and it has like radio, they tune out to news and whatnot at that time. Because it's of course in the 90s, and you listen to it, and it is so reminiscent of everything that's going on now. Everything they talk about is so relative to now. So it's like Art Bell talks about the quickening a lot, how things seem to be picking up faster.
Yeah.
And it's really, really interesting. I when I listen to it, I'm like, man, it's the same shit that's happening now. A lot of things they talk about. And Al Bielek, I think it's Al Bielek. He is the gentleman who has claimed, and that's probably one of my favorite episodes. He claimed to be on the USS Eldridge, and the USS Eldridge is one that went allegedly. That was the warship that disappeared in the Philadelphia harbor, the Philadelphia experiment, and he claimed that he was found, like he went forward in time into the 80s and and then had to go back. So very loosely based on the movie as well. Like his claims are exactly that as well.
Yeah. Some of these people are way ahead of their time, but to be honest with you, how long has this been going on? I mean, have we been going through like awakenings, and like, is this just an ebb and flow and up and down that
I totally agree. I actually think you're right. Like maybe it is these, that was in the 90s, and we're like 30 years later now. Well, we'll say 20. We'll go with 20. Now we go back to like, we'll go 25. We'll say 25, 30 years. What it was 25, 30 years before the 90s.
Right.
That was the 60s, right? Peace, love, and everything. Everybody was talking about awakenings then as well. Who knows? Maybe, like you said, an ebb and flow. Maybe it's going in 15-year cycle or 33-year cycles.
And maybe the governments or the powers that be just kind of like, let's just wait it out. This is going to pass again, and then we'll be back to it again, back to the normal grind of everything.
it definitely could be. Yes. I
mean, when was the age of enlightenment? What era was that? What year? Age? Let me look it up.
You tell me. Yeah.
I'll look it up.
And while he's doing that, everyone, like this is our call-in show. Once again, I will be sharing the link here probably like in 10 minutes or so. Love for you guys to come on and share any of your experiences you had. If not, we'll just have another good discussion about things that are going on. 1685 it started, and 1815 it ended. So a couple of 100 years of enlightenment, and that was an era of intellectual and philosophical, like it was a movement of intellectual and philosophical debate throughout Europe in the 17th and 18th centuries. Interesting. Very interesting.
So like, has it happened many times?
I would definitely like to see if there is, because, looking into our climate, I definitely know that there's an ebb and flow with our climate, like you go back to the Dust Bowl to the 30s, that was heat waves, and they're talking about everything, everything like the ice caps melting at that time. And then we go into, we jump to the 70s. And, the scientists are screaming that we're headed for another ice age. And now, again, we're back to the same, here we are again, everything is melting. It's cyclical. And like you said, everything is cyclical. Everything goes in circles. So,
or maybe they're just really good at every time something is really happening, like a movement, like the awakening movement that's going on, the Great Awakening. Mm-hmm. Maybe they're just really good at driving it back the other way. Every time it starts to go one way or the other. I have this theory that like, they don't want us to all wake up at the same time.
Yep.
Because I think it would cause some kind of a major thing if the collective
an event, like an event horizon kind of thing. Whereas that, where you can't, that the event horizon is when the light cannot escape the black hole anymore. Correct? I think that's the event horizon. I believe that's what it is. So that is the point. That is the point right there. And I agree with you on that one too. Maybe that is a possibility that they're just trying to stagger it all, and maybe that is it.
Yeah, just control us, because if we all wake up at the same time, imagine waking someone up from their dead sleep, everybody from their dead sleep at the same time. You know how when you wake someone up in a hurry, in a panic, they just go, it's a terrifying feeling, right? Imagine everybody doing that at the same time. That would be like a.
Well, one thing I've said is that I believe that when you go through an awakening, which an awakening means like a realization of what really the truth is, which means that your long held beliefs or beliefs on certain things, you got to get rid of them. They have to die. So it is like we're talking cyclical. It's like a death and rebirth. You need to let part of you die, and it's difficult to do that. There is a mourning period for that as well. Like I know I'm not going to get into the topic of what it was, but there was an event where I came to a realization that what I had been believing, for 30, 40 years was not true, and I didn't sleep that night. Like we're talking, it took me about a week to adjust to that. And I feel that I'm pretty open to change. And well, sometimes I'm kicking and screaming as well. But, if that's for me, and I'm not saying I'm better than everyone, but what happens for a person who's not ready for any of these types of events or changes, that's huge.
Yeah, I had Emily Moyer on my show, and we were talking about plasma and stuff, and she brought up this. It was a good point, because I hadn't thought of it in that way before. She was just saying, hey, maybe it's intended. Maybe there are good guys that are just like, hey, we need to slow this down a little. I like to think that there are good guys out there that's helping us, along the way. But, because I can't imagine that everybody's bad. I just can't imagine that everybody working in government's bad. Everybody in, positions of power are bad. I can't even imagine that all the Freemasons are bad, right? Or like I can't imagine that that's the case, right?
Well, so, I believe with the Freemasons, the organization, the base organization itself, I think is there for information and for knowledge. Like I have friends who have joined the Freemasons, but it's once I think perhaps the ones that are up in the higher echelons, the 33rds, that's when they're kind of like, okay, we're going to start picking who we want into this area. Cause like the Freemasons are just a general front almost. And then there's we'll say the 33rds, and that's something different. I think we step away from the Freemasons of what they're the showcase as, and it's something else completely different.
Yeah, I don't know what they do. I mean, I have friends and stuff that are Freemasons, and they all seem like good people, and they seem to care, But there is this vibe of like this dark side that is lurking that you can't leave, you can't tell the secrets of the Freemasons, or they'll blackball you, or they'll whatever. They'll. By the way, you know where the term blackball came from? I believe it has something to do with like the Girl Scouts.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's like if you draw black. I have to look that up. Let me look that up while you can keep talking if you want.
Oh, I'm looking it up right now.
But yeah, I think it was. I think my mom was telling me that she used to be in the Girl Scouts, and the term blackball came from because everybody had to get a white ball from everybody to be a member or something like that. And if you got a black ball, then you were out. So that's where the term
you are correct. Yeah. So the phrase blackball comes from an old voting system used by secret societies, clubs, and organizations where members would cast votes to accept or reject new members. Voting was done anonymously using colored balls, typically a white ball for acceptance and a black ball for rejection. Right. If a person received even one black ball, they were rejected. The method of voting originated in Greek societies and later became widely used in organizations like Masonic lodges and exclusive gentlemen's clubs. Over time, the term evolved into a verb meaning to exclude or ostracize someone from a group or opportunity.
Yeah, like I said, I think the Girl Scouts were using it as well. Like the Boy Scouts probably too. I wasn't a Boy Scout, so I don't know. But
wow, yeah. Makes you wonder then about that. That's interesting. Oh, hang on. Let's see this one here. B. Jean, my grandfather was like a 30-second Scottish rite, and I was told you have to rebuke and reject that from your bloodline. Interesting.
What? Rebuke what?
I would say that you are a 30-second Mason. Like, okay, hang on. Yeah. B. Jean, let us know what you're talking about, exactly what you have to reject or rebuke. Also, just a shout out to all the viewers, listeners, and everyone who is in the affected areas. You know, like that hurricane was crazy, and then there's more just brewing in the Gulf. You know, just off the coast here. Like it's very strange. It's like, oh, the Gulf of Campeche, they're saying, which is where I live. You know, that's where they're all coming from. I'm like, okay, sorry, but that's a whole other bag
conspiracy.
Of worms, you know?
Yeah, there's a whole conspiracy.
I need to talk to Jim about that.
Yeah, that's for sure. I texted him and I'm like, hey man, you want to do a weird weather? That would be a good title for one of my shows, Weird Weather, you know. And I was like, I never heard back from him, so I assume we talked about it before, and he said he doesn't. He's not like he normally doesn't do like infotainment. You know what I mean? Like kind of what we're talking about now. That's just stuff like this because he takes it very seriously, and obviously we do too. But he's an expert in a lot of things. You know, all things weather. I mean, that's all he does in his free time. But what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. Asheville, North Carolina, man. Like, if y'all can pray for Asheville, North Carolina, please do so. And, you know, or that just not just Asheville, but that whole western side of North Carolina. The first episode I did with you, remember I was on vacation and I had a portable mic and all that stuff. That's where I was. I was in Asheville.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So we were there just like a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, whatever it was.
Oh, geez. And one second here. Sorry, just replying back to Smurfy. Yes, I am in Campeche. But yes, it's crazy, man. It is crazy, and the amount of destruction. Some of the roads, like I was seeing that some of the roads, you know, aren't going to be repaired to like mid next year. Aren't going to be open. I mean,
well, you know what's funny, man? Have you seen pictures of like Chimney Rock? So again, my mom, when I was in the mountains visiting my wife's family, my mom actually was in the mountains as well at the same time. And she was in this place called Chimney Rock, North Carolina. And I saw a video someone did of Chimney Rock, and it is like completely mud covered streets, right? Like, and the mud is covering up half the buildings. And I'm like, what does that sound like? It's like Tartaria. That's the mud flood. Like, so basically, and that was what I was thinking about with like flooding and stuff. A lot of these ancient buildings that are like buried underground and stuff, it had to have been from a flood, and then just the waters receded, and then now you're left with the mud. Like, like for whatever reason, when someone says mud flood, I don't think of like literally mud flowing down from the tops of the mountains all over the world. I just think like there was a flood, and then the waters dried up, and it left mud behind. So, but if you look at these pictures of North Carolina, that's exactly what it looks like.
Jeez, that is interesting. That is interesting. So our other guest has just showed up, so I should let her in. And it's Erin, you said, right? Or
Erin from Stygian Charters. Stygian Charters. Stygian Charters.
Let's bring her on. Let's bring her on. Oh, of course, it's not. I brought her on, but I don't have the proper setup. Hang on one second.
What's up, Nix? Yeah, Nix. Color Nix, by the way. Aaron's
hey, Nix, how you doing? I'm Rye with, and this is Codega's Codex of Curiosities. Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but your camera's frozen.
Yeah, I don't. Oh, wait, maybe I don't know what's going on.
No problem. So why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Nix, and I recently started my own podcast, Stygian Charters. And Brad was on, I think it was episode 3 or 4. I had him on talk about the 33rd parallel. So, but my podcast pretty much covers all things strange and unexplained. Anything from paranormal, cryptids, Nephilim, Christian eschatology, conspiracy theories, and discerning conspiracy theories from conspiracy fact, and just a bunch of stuff like that. So.
Fantastic. Right up the alley, I think, of all of us. That's exactly. That is awesome. That is awesome. And so you go by Nix, you said Nix or
Nix, yeah.
Yeah, sorry,
Yep.
I didn't mean to mention your government name and on live on air like
Oh,
that.
that's okay. As long as people don't know my last name, it's not that big of a deal.
Well, welcome.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're gonna do a show
thank
together
you.
soon as well.
Mhm.
Well, I'll just keep that a secret, I guess, what we're gonna talk about. But yeah, it'll
I
be.
mean, you don't have to if you don't want to.
Well,
can
no, I
always
mean,
give
you could
just
tell
a
us about it.
preview.
You were, I know you hadn't finished working on it fully. That's why I didn't want to mention it really. So you're
Right.
more than
So
welcome to.
basically, I'm going to be
intrigued.
talking.
Uh,
Basically, I'm going to be talking about the different types of Satanism there is out there, because I've really gotten tired of hearing people think it's all atheistic Satanism, like the Church of Satan or the Satanic Temple. And there's so many more groups out there, and some of them are even theistic Satanists, which actually worship Satan. Or if you look from it from the Luciferian aspect, Lucifer.
Yeah.
But there's so many more groups out there that people aren't familiar with. One of the big ones out there is the Order of Nine Angles. William Ramsey talks about that one a lot. They're a white supremacist satanic group. And then I will also be talking about ritualistic crime and how I think the Lanning report that the FBI did needs to be revisited, which talked about the satanic panic and the abuse of children and just crimes involving the occult and Satanism. So, yeah.
Interesting. I had on, I don't know if you've ever heard of Nathan Reynolds. I had him on.
Yes.
I'm having him back actually in a couple of weeks. He's coming back on. He's got a lot of information, and
yes,
disturbing though as well.
Yes, I've heard him speak on a number of podcasts and have heard quite a bit about his story. So yeah, incredible and deeply disheartening and disturbing. But he's now he's like, informing the rest of us, that this really exists.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what's crazy is that, like I wouldn't say I'm like extremely active, but I am active on Reddit, and you post his like, I'll post things about like Bigfoot or UFOs and abductions, and everybody will buy into that. And I'm not saying buy into that. So everybody's like, yes, that's real. But when I post something, when I post his video, that is probably the one that I've got the most kickback from. A lot of people are like, oh, that guy's full of crap, and it's crazy that so many people are ready to believe everything else, but as soon as you talk about whether it be Satanism or Luciferianism, it's like, oh, this, blinders, we don't want to see this, or this doesn't exist, or this person's insane. And it's like, oh, come on, people.
It's the same with angels. People have the same problem with angels. You could say there's 9 different types of angels, and they go, what's wrong with you? You're crazy? Are you heretical? What is going on? People really have a problem with information.
Yeah, so I talked with a good friend of mine, actually, Sal. He believes he was in communication with an angel. And I did this before the show where I do a little intro, kind of like on the topic. And it's like 75% of all of Americans believe in angels. Okay. But if you say you've talked to one or one has talked to you, they think you're bananas. And it's like, where do you draw that line? Where do you be like, okay, like I believe in angels, but they don't talk to anybody. And and we look, take for instance the Bible. How many times did angels come and speak to people? Did they just stop? Did they stop talking to people because the Bible is over now? Well, the Bible's written, we're not going to talk to people anymore. And I've often wondered about prophets as well. Like in the Bible we have tons of prophets. But now these days, if anybody is a prophet, they're insane. People will just throw you out. And just be like, no, that's it, you're done.
Or a cult leader. They'll often say that they're a cult leader.
I had Paul Stobbs on my show earlier today, and we talked for a couple hours, and he had a lot of experience with, like, he used to do psychedelics a lot for like 10 years, he said. And he said that a lot of times when he would go, he started to realize like everything he was interacting with over there was basically demonic spirits. And he wasn't going to a different realm. He was going to Earth, just different layers of Earth. And that basically everything that's in these other realms are trying to trick you into thinking that they're angels, or that they're light bearers or something like that, to make you think that they can't be
the light bearer of course is the light bearer of course is Lucifer. Lucifer.
Yeah.
Lucifer is the light bearer, and
he disguises himself as an angel of light.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I had Ryan Pitterson on my show not too long ago, and he wrote Judgment of the Nephilim and The Final Nephilim. Extremely awesome researcher. And we were talking about how, like, between DMT and ayahuasca, and how we both believe, it's allowing people to penetrate the veil into those parallel universes. And those are, demonic entities or, watchers or, and
so here's the thing. I don't want to, so if those demonic entities are in those dimensions, I always say that there's a balance. In my opinion, though, that there has to be, when there's evil possibly waiting, there is also good as well. Like when, a lot of people believe, and I do as well, I believe a lot of aliens are demonic, are part of the Watchers.
100% agree. Yeah.
But that by that theory, that if they look like that, then angels have to look like that as well, because they were at one time one and one, like, they were the same thing. It's not to say that they haven't, changed, evolved in a different direction, but I do believe that, if you look at one side, there has to be balance. This world is all about balance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean, but I had a lady. I don't want to give her name, but before I started a podcast, I was introduced to this lady who has a pretty interesting background, pretty interesting job, and everything. And she does a lot. She's allegedly a psychic medium. She's been on Oprah and all these things. We talked on the phone one day. This was before I even had a podcast now, and then I remember I asked her, I said, "Why are you willing to have this conversation?" She was excited. She's like, "I want to be on your podcast." And I was like, I don't even have a podcast yet. And she goes, "Well, I'm a psychic, remember? It's like, it's going to be a pretty well-known show or pretty famous or something like that." And I was like, well, first of all, that's exciting when you hear stuff like that, because you want it to be true. Yeah. Right. But
right.
When I got home, my wife told me, I was telling her, I was like, "Isn't that cool? She's a psychic medium. She works at this company and that and blah, blah, blah." And she goes, "Yeah, the Bible says like 1,000 times, don't talk to mediums. Don't, try to ask for predictions of the future or anything like that." And I'm like, shit, she's right. And then she reminded me of the devil disguises himself as an angel of light. And I'm like, shit, she's 100% right. Because if you think about it, when these mediums, when you've seen, there's a show called Taxi Medium or something like that, where this guy drives people around and he, tells them, I'm talking to your dead mom right now. And what happens is a lot of times they'll say stuff like, "Nix, your mom, your grandma's here right now, and she's telling the story of how you used to love blueberry pie so much." And of course they know all this shit, because they're demons and they're sitting there watching us from beyond the veil. And so they're going to use that to trick you to think, "Oh, I'm talking to angels. I'm talking to my mom or my grandma or whatever." I think that our loved ones heaven is way higher than, if there's different tiers, then, they're on the level 9 and we might be on like the level 3 or something like that. Right. I mean, I think that there's spirits there. The angels are, level 7, God's level 9, Christ is level 8.
Yeah, there's a hierarchy of angels.
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm. And so I don't think that they're that close to us. I think that they can interact.
Stuck. I will admit that I am stuck between that, though. That sure. I do believe that there is a very high possibility. It's like Ouija boards, like that's one thing I will never touch, because I believe you don't know what's there. But with mediums, I am caught. I'm like, I think, they really could be talking to either source. And I don't know. And I will say in the past, I've 100% believed that they were connecting to our, passed on loved ones. Now I'm questioning that now. Like, now I'm open more to like, yep, there is definitely a possibility. Like what's, they're just kind of, they're not using a Ouija board. They're just connecting with the, they don't need a device. They have a, a better connection than we do. And are they sure they know who they're connecting to, but I guess, but some of them connect with emotion. Like, it's an emotionally connect. So I don't know if fear is in there, then, of course, fear is calling card of, but I don't know. I don't know.
I agree with, what are, you don't know what you could be potentially communicating with. I do struggle with within the Bible when they talk about mediums a bit, because I feel people do a lot of times have abilities. I have dreams sometimes. I've never asked for that to happen or whatever, but they're about events or places or, that I had no idea about. And that was just on a small scale. So I, wonder about these individuals who, I mean, there's a lot of hoaxes out there and frauds and everything, but like, what happens if you're just naturally have that? Not to say that you're trying to make money off it, but so that's what I struggle with is what happens. I mean, sometimes I think these people don't ask for this.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
Yeah,
it's really, really true.
There's a guy named Chris Bledsoe from, I'm sure people would know. He's wrote a book called UFO of God. He seems to be in regular contact with these things. But again, whenever I see him interacting with these, he's got videos of UFOs just about every night on his Instagram. If y'all want to follow him, he's a really sweet guy. Seems like a really sweet guy. I just think that people can be easily tricked into thinking that they're interacting with someone or something that's like angelic. That's because he famously has encountered this female god creature or light ball of light. I don't know what you want to call it or whatever. I don't know how to describe it. He describes it in his book pretty well. But so I just think that, again, I don't know what it is, just like nobody else knows what it is, but my instinct tells me it probably is not right. Just like, I've almost got the Holy Spirit before. I've been to a few Pentecostal holiness churches, and every time I've been and I've witnessed them, people getting the Holy Spirit, it doesn't look loving and kind and, all that stuff. So whenever I see people just allowing something into their bodies and then they're shaking violently and flipping around and eyes rolling back in their head and stuff, like that doesn't look, that doesn't look like the loving God that we know exists. You know what I mean? So I think we have to be careful, all of the spiritual world all around us. That's be careful of everything. You're even synchronicities. Even when I get synchronicities all the time, I'm still kind of like, all right, is this a sign or is somebody just tricking me? You know what I mean?
What about deja vus? What are your thoughts on deja vus if we're talking about synchronicities?
What about you, Nix?
Yeah, I encounter deja vu a lot of times. It just feels familiar somehow. I'm an empath, and I've always been. And I don't know, have you guys ever taken the Myers-Briggs personality test before?
No, I have not.
No, okay.
No.
It's really super interesting. The letters they give you all stand for something. Like your first letter is going to be either an I or an E for introvert or extrovert, and so on. But it's kind of scary how accurate it is. It was designed by Carl Jung. But when I took it, because you can take it online and for free, and I took it twice because I thought the first time it was wrong because it said it was only 2% of the population has it, and that's an INFJ. But they're often, I guess, empaths, and they sometimes just because their intuitiveness, people feel like they have abilities or whatnot. But I do pick up on things other people don't. I feel like I see the world through different lenses. But yeah, I experience deja vu, things that feel familiar. And like I said, sometimes I have dreams. As Brad said, I do experience synchronicity sometimes. A lot of times I try to brush it off with a reasonable explanation instead of automatically like thinking it means something. But there's sometimes it's a little too strange. But yeah, no, I definitely have experienced deja vu, and a lot of times I'm like, okay, did I dream something about this, or was I just talking about this with somebody else that it seems so familiar? But yeah.
There's a guy for those who are listening. There's a guy named Logan Barone, Barone. He was just on my podcast. Please go follow him. He's an incredibly smart guy, and talks a lot about awakenings and things like that. He's a spiritual life coach, I think, as well. And he wrote a great book called The Mystery Within. Follow him. He's a really, really smart guy. But we were talking about synchronicities, and we actually had a synchronicity while we were on the show. And so like sometimes when those things happen, it's like, all right, so the definition of a synchronicity is like when two things happen and it doesn't seem coincidental. I mean, they just happen out of the blue. Or, he and I were talking, and I was telling him I've listened to songs before, and as I'm listening to the words of the song, and as I'm kind of like vibing with the song, billboards will appear around me as if the billboards are interacting with me, if that makes any sense. Right?
100%. I'm not sure if I ever told you about one experience when I was asking for a sign. I'm like, I need a sign. I had a specific thing, I'm like, I need a sign. And that was in the morning. And just before around lunchtime, I step out of this one store and I look up, and there's a billboard, and it says, if you're looking for a sign, this is it. And I was like, okay. It's definitely like that.
Well, your intuition, when that intuition is like, it's a familiar feeling. Like, okay, I feel like it's a higher version of yourself letting you know that that's right. Mm-hmm. Like it's like your previous self that's going, hey, yes, that's correct. Go with your gut instincts. When we have a gut instinct, not to buy this truck or not to, go to this place or whatever. I think that's our higher version trying to remind us, like, it's retrocausality, right? In reverse. It's like, don't go back to that. Don't do that again, whatever you're doing. So
what about this one? So PG asked a question. Has anybody heard a song in their head and then have it, has it been on the radio when you turn it on?
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually a coworker and I were in the car together, and we were talking about a song, and it wasn't a song. It was an older song, and it wasn't always played on the radio anymore. And it came on. She just kind of looked at me.
Could it be this song? I don't know. So Rick Ashley, Rick rolled.
Oh, Rick rolled.
Did you guys hear it at all, or no? Was it not?
No, but
oh, darn it!
That song you played on the intro, that was great, man. Who's that by?
That's Raph Skitz Lugo. He is a lifelong abductee. He's been abducted many, many times. He talks about, the seed being harvest is kind of what it is. Like, he was presented with a child. It was kind of like a very cold experience, and he knew that this child needed his human touch, to kind of like, they're trying to, it's a hybrid. It was a hybrid is what it was. And so, but these experiences he's had with these abductions, and he's had a abduction where, his son was abducted too at the same time. And these abductions, changed his life. So he was kind of like a, what do you want to, like, I don't want to say pop, like he was a rapper kind of thing, and then he kind of switched to this higher level rap. So shout out to Raph. Let me post his Facebook on here. Just so
do you know him personally?
Like, I had him on the show. I've interviewed him. I don't. So that is how I know him. He has his own podcast. I think it kind of is a little slower right now because he had to move locations, but it's called Calling All Hybrids.
Do you guys ever get tired of talking about like all of this deep, heavy stuff all the time? I mean, I enjoy talking about having the conversations, but sometimes it weighs on me a little bit, and I'm like, just kind of gotta like watch baseball or something to like clear my head, or a funny movie or something. I don't know.
You need the circus. You need the circus, is what you're saying.
Sometimes, yeah, I need to go back into that that reality.
What about you, Nix?
Yeah, at times, but I always remind myself not to take the black pill,
Yeah.
and then being a Christian, I know who wins this. So, and it is supposed to get dark before, Jesus Christ comes back and triumphs over Satan. So, knowing the end game is what I try to keep in mind when it comes to that.
Fair enough. But I agree with you, Brad, though. There's many times where I'm just like, I'm just going to go on my phone and zone out and, play some mobile game and just not have a care in the world, But I will admit I was getting kind of taken away with that. So I actually deleted all my game, like the games that I was playing, I just deleted them all off my phone. I'm like, no, it's too much of a distraction. Speaking of that song, the song that was on before was called Distraction. So it was too much of a distraction. I'm like, no, I gotta get more into this. And speaking of that, it was kind of like, it was again, kind of like a weight lift. By doing that, it was like a weight lifted off me. And I finally went through, and one thing I haven't been doing since like 2022 was writing down my dreams or compiling all my dreams into a specific area. Cause I keep a very detailed dream journal. Though in the last 2.5 years, my dreams have been very sparse. And I believed I wasn't writing them down, but when I started collecting, cause I have different places where I'll put them, I'll WhatsApp message myself them. I'll put them in this notepad or writer, and I'll even message people as someone was in a dream with me, I'll message them. So I started collecting them all, and I'm like, oh shit, no, I got a fair amount that I didn't think I had. I was like, oh, maybe I had 3 that I wrote down. No, it's like, like I got, for 1 year I have like 11 pages, which is way more than I thought I would. But it's way less than my usual, but yeah.
I do take that back. There's been a couple times researching some things I've had to like kind of shut it down and step away.
Yeah, that's kind of what I mean. It just feels, and even sometimes like I've done a lot of heavy spiritual conversation talks the last few episodes, and that's been kind of a taxing thing for me as well, because listeners will interact more with you with that, and I take things to heart when someone says terrible episode. I'm like, oh Jesus, like I'll sit there and just think about it all day. Like, it was terrible. I'm terrible. I shouldn't be doing this. Like, it really affects me. People say don't read the comments, but let's be honest, sometimes the comments are pretty close to the truth. I mean, it really is what it is. And so when someone sent me a message after my last episode, and they just were like, this is wrong, and this, that, and other, and I asked her why, and she replied and everything, but it was just, it makes me like, I don't want to hurt. I don't want to change. I don't want to shake people's faith in God, or I don't want to I don't want to be someone that someone looks to for answers for anything. I'm a stupid ass idiot. I don't know shit about anything. Right. It's like, it's just a heavy burden sometimes, I guess is what I'm saying, like to talk about this stuff, because I really don't know nothing, and I'm on my own spiritual journey. Right. Mm-hmm. Just like we all are. So that's kind of where it comes. That's where the heaviness comes in for me, I guess.
But like with us on this journey, though, we are a collector of stories. That's what that's what I embody myself, is this collector. Like, I don't have all the information, but by speaking with everybody, and people will be like, oh, you don't know this, you don't know that. Yeah, I don't. But that's what I'm doing, though, is that I'm making an effort to collect all these so I can build up, this codex of experiences and put them together and come out with something more solid, and I can present that to people then at that point. And that is what I feel that I'm doing, is, bringing them all into one place. That's what my show is about, is bringing these people in, giving them a place to speak and to tell their truths. And for me, it's also me learning about their truths as well. And with that, then I can, come to a better understanding of what's really going on.
I like the way you guys do you guys follow ninjas or butterflies at all?
Sometimes I used to subscribe to them, but then I think their shorts are better. Their shorts, I like their shorts better. Yeah.
They have this lighthearted way of talking about heavy subjects. You know what I mean? And I kind of wish that was me
Yes.
sometimes. I wish I could talk about lighthearted stuff or heavy subjects, but do you see that crazy clouds in the sky? That's so weird. Or did you hear about this harp thing? Oh man, that's crazy. It's like, I wish I could kind of do that, but to me, it takes it to like, I'm like, oh, this shit is real. Like, this is like, it bothers me because it's so real sometimes. Like, I wish I was wrong on some of this stuff, So whenever I hear people talking about it and like, what happened?
I think that's why a lot of podcasts like also incorporate that comedy element to it as well.
Yeah, I wish I was more comedy like.
Me too. I think you have to, like you got to be able to laugh at some things because it's very dark. It is extremely dark, the stuff that we get into, and we have to be able to bring light to it. And I'm in comedy and laughing, shakes that vibration, shakes things up, and it allows it a little more room to breathe, a little more acceptance as well.
I'm going to be going down to the Bohemian Grove. So if anybody's in Florida and they want to come out and hang out with me and the Nephilim Death Squad guys and one-on-one, and I think Shane Cashman, a bunch of other people are going to be there. If y'all want to come down for that October 25th and 26th, I'll probably be there. I know I'll be there the first night, but I don't know if I'll be there the second night or not. It just depends on my little brother's going to go with me too. So we're going to, have somebody there with me. And last time I went, it was just me by myself and I was kind of standing there, but everybody was welcoming. Everybody was awesome. But it was kind of weird at first. They're like, who the hell are you? Like, what is your thing? What do you do? And then I was like, yeah, I was on, this show and that show. And then they welcomed me with open arms, but it was like, it's kind of odd me just standing there by myself, but I'll be there October 25th and 26th. I don't know if I'm going to be podcasting live with those guys, but I was invited.
That'd be cool, though, if you could. That'd be cool if you could.
Yeah, but I will be there. Just I don't know what capacity. So, yeah.
Interesting. So what else is going on with you, Nix? Do you have any upcoming episodes that you're releasing here right away? What's going on there?
Yeah, I just had a podcast earlier today, a recording I did with Robert Sullivan, and he covers a lot of occult symbolism in entertainment. And he also covers the Wizard of Oz death curse and the Crowley numbers associated with that. And he had offered to come back and do an episode during like Halloween season with me. So, and he wanted to do something a little different than he's done in the past, like cover some different things. So I gave him full discretion, and he chose to cover the movies Long Legs and Late Night with the Devil. So, which I saw both of those. And so we discussed those today, and I'll be releasing that episode in the next day or so. But yeah, he's a wealth of information and has so much interesting things to talk about. So yeah, that's what I have. And I am Brad had him on a show, Ed Mabry. I'm emailing back and forth him about having him come on my show. And although we won't be able to do a series like they're doing on Nephilim Death Squad, but talk about some of the, points in Revelation and his thoughts and viewpoint on it.
Yeah, Ed's the man. He can just talk about whatever, man. Just go with it.
I listened to a couple of his episodes as well, and they're mind blowing. Yes, I was like, holy cow, this is awesome.
It's so interesting to see the backgrounds that people come from to, like how they got to the point of wanting to talk about this kind of stuff, these kind of topics. Everybody has they've had this, something has happened, this awakening moment where they come in through a door, they come into information or intuition or something that takes them along this journey. And it always starts, with some sort of a conspiracy, whether it be 9/11 or JFK or something. Those are the typical, but then, a lot of times recently in 2020, that was a big explosion for a lot of people. Everyone was like, all right, something's definitely going on here. And that kind of moved everybody.
What's interesting is 3 of the researchers I've had on are actually lawyers. So, a lot of times people, look at people who look at conspiracy theories as crazy and everything, but these are, upstanding members in society with good jobs, and they're even looking at things differently.
Yeah, everybody pulls me aside. I'm a baseball coach, little league baseball coach, and a web designer and all kind of stuff. But people will secretly pull me aside and whisper to me that hey, I listened to your show, or hey, I got this crazy thing that happened to me. I thought I'd tell you about it. You know what I mean? It's always something crazy like that. But people have, I think the majority of people have had things happen to them. But also the majority of people are just afraid to lose their jobs, and they're afraid to speak out about some of this stuff. Like you said, they're lawyers and they don't want to lose, their clientele. They don't want to be called crazy or whatever. I get that. That's a lot of money to lose out on. But for me, I just got to a point where I was like, I don't really give a shit. I don't care who listens. I don't care if my preacher listens. I don't care if who listens. I'm an open book with most things. I talk about more things on these podcasts than I talk about in my personal life that I would mention to family members, which is kind of weird. Just like an outlet to just get things out,
I totally agree with you too, but one thing I have going for me here in Mexico is that, people are a lot more open about stuff happening, but they're not going to be up front and be like, oh, hey, have you had an experience? But if they hear what I do, that I'm a podcaster, then they start, then the floodgates open. And I'd say almost everybody I've ever talked to has had some crazy experiences. It's really, really fascinating and interesting, and I've talked to you this before, Brad, about aluches, which are like homunculuses or little people, duendes, here in Mexico. And in this area specifically, so common. But you mentioned the chupacabra here where I live, and people will laugh at you. They're like, that doesn't exist. That doesn't exist. But let me tell you about the aluches we see, or that we deal with on a regular basis. So it's funny.
Yeah, it's weird how people act with this kind of stuff, man. It's like, it's okay to, like you said, 75% of people believe in angels, but if you told them you saw one, they would lose their minds and say you're an idiot or you're crazy or whatever the case is. But it's even, again, I was on Mark Steve's show whenever I first started podcasting, and I kept saying, dude, I know it sounds weird. He's like, bro, what are you talking about? We're all weird in this space. Nobody cares about this stuff. And I'm like, oh yeah. So it felt good to be around people that you didn't have to, you could pull that full filter off and speak your mind and be around people like that. That was really the cool moment for me, was because I don't have to explain myself to everybody. If you say Anunnaki, if you say, you don't have to explain what that is to somebody, you don't have, they just already know. And so you could just move the conversation a little bit further down the line. But yeah, like I said, though, most people are good people, go to church and, take their kids to sports and, just a 9-to-5 type stuff. And truthfully, I get it. If they're safe, if they're secure, they got a house over their head, they got food in their fridge, they don't want to talk about this stuff. It doesn't help them at all to tell people that they saw a UFO or, got abducted by an alien or whatever the case is. So.
Okay. I don't think we got any guests wanting to come on here right now. So I'm going to ask you guys, what is the strangest experience that you've heard so far on your shows? What is the most, mind-blowing or craziest experience that you have heard personally? It doesn't have to be on your show. Could be someone just told you randomly.
Oh boy.
You can go ahead.
That's tough. I'm trying to think. I'm going to be releasing my 14th episode.
Hey, that's 14. That's 140 hours, maybe something along that line. I'm assuming they're about an hour long.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Is that 140 hours? Is my math is completely off? No, that's 14 hours. Oh my god, 14. Wow. Yeah, that was
marathon
terrible. 10
podcasting.
hours an episode. 10 hours an episode. That's why I'm podcasting. I'm not a mathematician. I'm not.
I don't know. Maybe Brad can answer first and give me a minute or two to try to think.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've had 2 recently that haven't come out yet, and that was Paul's. Paul and I. So Paul talks a lot about the Nephilim, how they look like clowns. He wrote a book about the Nephilim and how they look like clowns, which is a fascinating topic. But he's been on some huge shows already talking about this stuff. He's done over 50 or 60 podcasts where he's talked about these things over the years. So when he came on, we just kind of he was just telling me about like how he started down this path and everything, and sort of going from, he was working at a grocery store, manager of a grocery store or something like that. And, he kind of got to the end of his working at the grocery store. He could tell it was time to go. So we had similar stories that the reason whenever I started, whenever I left my job and started going down this path, I thought he was going to say they look like who Lisa Ray?
The Nephilim.
No, but Paul was telling me that right after he decided to get in, to go full force with talking about the Nephilim looking like clowns, which is about 2015. He said he had this moment where he basically was these entities started attacking him and coming to him in his dreams and tell him we're going to get you, because basically he was doing these psychedelics, and what he was saying was he thinks that he had some kind of a agreement with them or something that he didn't know about, right? And then they were coming to collect on him, and they're causing all this chaos in his life and stuff like that. And he actually thought he was dying on the floor one day, and then he said the name of Christ, of course, and then everything just went away. But there was the Hat Man was, like the I don't know if anybody's ever heard of the Hat Man, but the Hat Man is like, I've heard about it, when I was a kid. A friend of mine said he had a dream about the Hat Man. So essentially it's death.
I've had dreams about them.
Oh, you have?
Really?
Yeah, well, let's hear about that. None of my stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
We're jumping onto this one. Yeah.
Ever since I was little, I had dreams about, a dark, shadowy figure in a hat. And after I found out my grandparents' house was haunted at one point, or had an entity in it, and this was way before I was born, but that my dad was in middle school when they moved from Pittsburgh to Ohio, and they didn't know there was a suicide that occurred in the house. But it was weird after I found out that happened, and the weird experiences that happened there before. My grandma had a bridge club at her house, and a lady came in and said she sensed an entity there, and she pretty much did the whole poltergeist thing and cleansed the house, and it no longer was an issue. But for some reason, after I learned about that in middle school, I always dreamt I was in their house and I was seeing a Hat Man. I've also had dreams that I've had shadow people at the end of my bed, and I wake up like thrashing because it feels real to me. And I typically lucid dream, but those dreams I'm not aware that I'm dreaming, and they're so frightening. I wake up and I'm like literally fighting the air and kicking and stuff. So, but yeah, so those are my experiences. But I've also heard people who, and it's extremely dangerous to do, will trip on Benadryl and have experiences seeing the Hat Man.
Oh wow!
Flirting with disaster, man. Flirting with death.
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. I mean, it seems like everybody's had this this shadowy entity. I mean, I've had something hold me down. I was just telling my wife earlier about it, because I think I told her before, but it was like smashing my face against the pillow, and I was like, I was trying to say the name of Christ. I was like, Jesus, and then it like went away. But Vicky Joy Anderson, who was on the show last time, said that
Okay, sorry, Brad. I was just thinking about Vicky because I had spoken to her before the show, and she's at an Airbnb with a friend right now who is recovering from surgery, and she can't make it. And I was like, oh, I need to say, give a shout out to Vicky Joy. And then all of a sudden you're like, Vicky Joy. And I'm like,
yeah.
Oh, shit. Yeah.
Speaking of synchronicities.
Yeah, for sure. That happens so much since I've been. They happen less since I've been podcasting, but they've been more pointed since I've started podcasting. They've been like, somebody handed me a book, and it was the same book. Somebody mentioned it on a podcast later on that night and stuff like that. So it was like, there's like some very direct like synchronicities. Like the book was called Weapons of Mass Instruction. And then later on, I had a girl on my podcast, Cheryl from the How Homeschool How To podcast, and she mentioned that same book. So that was a pretty pointed, like it was like the exact, thing that I just saw earlier that day, which I'd never even heard of before until 2 hours before the podcast started. So, but yeah, everybody's had those shadowy entities. It seems not to diminish anything that happened to you. It just seems like everybody in this podcasting world is what I mean. Not necessarily everybody in the world, but it just seems like maybe that's kind of like they're taking you, or because that's what Vicky Joy thinks, is they're taking you somewhere, and then when you wake up, you're at the end of that abduction or whatever the case is. That's what her take is on it, and she's had a lot of experience with that over the course of what four decades, I guess now. Is that what she was
That's
saying?
a warm and fuzzy thought.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe it's
I've also heard the theory that the shadow entities are on the lowest level of astral projection. I don't know if that's true or not. But then my question was like, am I inadvertently astral projecting? Because that sounds like that could go badly.
Well, I think dreaming is astral projecting. I really feel that dreaming is tied in with astral projecting. And perhaps that is why also one of the reasons maybe is that these entities are coming around. Not all the time. Actually, I won't say that astral projecting and dreaming are one and one all the time, but I do believe that happens a lot. And maybe we don't know it, and maybe they are drawn to that and to taking advantage of that.
Yeah, I had a guy on my show named Arthur Kirk, and he purposely lucid dreams because he said he likes to go to their battlefield and kind of control things in their world. Which when I say they, he encountered a demon that he described as himself, like the lowest version of himself, this drug addict, bald version of himself that was like a golem character, and he like released it from in that dream. So he would intentionally lucid dream, and he had ways to check that he was lucid dreaming. And then he would, when he got inside the dream, he would kind of do the work that needed to be done on the inside of him, I guess. So, but I kept asking if it was like a different realm he's going to, if it's like within. And it was kind of unclear, because that's what I really want to know is like, where are these people going when they do DMT trips? Where are they going when they lucid dream? Where are they going when they astral project? Like, it's not space as we know it. It's not like Saturn and all that stuff. It's got to be some other space around us, right?
That almost sounds like he is doing like shadow work in his dreams, like trying to improve himself by severing those ties to the negative or toxic areas he experiences in life.
Yeah, I definitely believe that as well. And what's crazy, again, synchronistic, Brad, was that I was talking with a gentleman, and I haven't been able to get him to come on, but he saw himself like watching himself, like he was a drug addict. So this is the thing, is that he was the reverse. So he was the drug addict, and there was another person standing at his doorway looking at him, and he's like, it was me. I was watching myself, but he's like, I wasn't on anything at that time, but I was, this other person was watching himself, which was very interesting.
I started. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, finish that thought, because I was just going to go back to lucid dreaming. So
no, you can. No, I don't. Okay. No, I'll talk about it in a minute.
I don't know about you guys, how often you guys like lucid dream. I lucid dream 99% of the time, I would say.
I don't remember anything.
So I would say I am like, I don't lucid dream to the extent of some people. Like, I had a, oh my gosh, why can't I remember his name? One of my first guests, or one of my earlier guests when I had the previous podcast, and he would talk about how he would fly around and blast things and blow up things and just do whatever he wanted, No, I don't do that. Like, for me, I am pretty in control when I'm in my dreams, but it's a lot of a spectator sometimes. Like I'm watching things happening. I'm third person view, and I see things happening. A lot of time, and then I'm also first person view. But I do have choices, but it's not like I can control it. So it's almost like real life. Like I can kind of control what I'm doing, but I'm not flying up and destroying things. And it's kind of like I'm going through a whole other life.
Right. Yeah, I just know most of the time that I'm lucid dreaming. So like I don't really have scary dreams too often because I always know that it's a dream. And I don't know if that's because I have a rare sleeping disorder where I don't hit all my stages of sleep properly. You spend like 20 to 25% in each stage and you cycle throughout the night. But like when I never wake up feeling refreshed, even though I felt like, I slept well. And when I had a sleep study test done, it showed you're supposed to be 20, I think it was like 24% in stage 3, your deep sleep. And I was 0%.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say what Lisa Ray said. She says a shadow person. He's also known as the top hat man by Native Americans. Some see him as a bad omen, others as an entity that watches people. So I mentioned that I knew about him when I was a kid because one of my best friends that died, he actually saw the top hat, the hat man, whatever you want to call him, in his dreams. So yeah, maybe that's a yeah, thank you for putting that up. Yeah, so maybe that's true. Maybe it was a bad omen, like, hey, he's going to die soon or whatever the case is. So it's interesting. But lucid dreaming, man, like there's this, you can go dreams within a dream. So there are meditative states that you can use to lucid dream to get you to kind of warm you up before you go to bed, to get you into the dream control state. And then when you're in the dream, you can then further meditate into another, like Inception, like the movie Inception, a dream within a dream. They call it dream yoga, as I believe he said it was. So,
well,
I had something.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I had something like that happen once, and I felt like I needed to wake up, like, and get out of the house because I thought there was something like evil there, and I'm trying to wake myself up, but it felt like it was a dream within a dream. Like I was dreaming that I needed to get out of the house and I was in bed and I needed to wake up. So it was my dream that I was dreaming this. And so it kind of was something similar to that, what you said.
You had to come out of the different levels just to wake up.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty wild.
I was telling Brad there that that last dream that I had that I told you about, that I wrote to you about my energy being harvested, or I was able to elevate my energy levels. But within that dream, to be able to ascend higher, I had to revisit a dream as well. So in my dream, I'm revisiting a dream that I had earlier that night. And it was like, that is how I was able to ascend to a higher frequency, I would say. I was able to ascend to a higher frequency. We were all at a 4.1 frequency, and I needed to ascend to a 4.9. And these other people who would put me into this tub of of some sort of liquid that is full of micro bubbles. They were using injections to try to achieve this state, this elevated frequency. But I was like, no, I don't need to do that. I know how to do it. And it was me revisiting other dreams and being able to, by doing that, I was able to elevate my frequency to this higher frequency.
Oh, wow. That's super interesting.
Yeah. You mentioned like a container too. Was there like a container? I had a dream one time where I was in this like white pod and I was kind of like held down in a way. Like I remember like falling all around this pod. And I couldn't move.
That's funny you say, because this isn't the first dream I've had of a white pod.
Really?
Yeah. So this was a large white pod. This one was full of water, and it was, like I said, it was like the lighting was really important. It was we were in a warehouse kind of thing, but the whole wall was kind of open. It was more of like a humid tropical kind of like it is here, but it was brick and but the whole wall was open. It was kind of open to outside, and there were hanging lights. You know, the metal shroud with the little light hanging in the middle. That was all in there, and there was two guys there, and they were kind of like, I didn't. I wouldn't say it was against my will, but it was something I did not really want to do, was to do this. But, you know, it was, maybe I was part of this, and this kind of sounds strange. I was part of a program with them prior, but then I had broken away from it. And you know, then I had come back, and it was maybe I was being blackmailed, or maybe I was helping out other people so they didn't have to do it. And it was kind of showing these people that they didn't have to use these injections to be able to elevate your frequencies to this 4.9 level that's kept on coming on. But the other white pod, this was a dream probably around 2014. And like I still remember this to this day. This white pod was actually a time capsule, and it was a time. What I would do was I would go into this white pod, and I would be put into a stasis. And it was kind of like similar to Demolition Man. If you ever watched the original, Demolition Man, with when they put them into this cryogenic stasis, but they would have they were able to train you, you know, like they were able to give you other skills by like when he got out, he was able to knit, but so we had these tapes, and you could put these tapes in, and you would stay in this pod. It could be there for 100 years, and then you'd wake up and you'd have all these other skills to go along with it as well. And this pod was there's no liquid in it. It was very ergonomic, with kind of like these white rolled vinyl kind of ergonomic kind of chair, kind of like a little recliner where you're laid right back in it.
I thought of them as like these homeless pods almost. In my dream, I just remember thinking, like, was this like a homeless pod? Like, what is this? Like a homeless house or something? You know, like, is this a little container? I don't know. I mean, from the inside, but I was just kind of falling around this, and I was motionless. I couldn't move myself. I was just kind of like falling all around this thing. And that was kind of like a sleep paralysis a little bit too, because I couldn't, like, it was hard for me to move in my dream or something. And then I kind of woke up in this panic, and I had this feeling, this whatever eerie feeling, that something was in the room outside around the bed or something somewhere. So, like, you know what you do when you get your toes hanging out of the blankets and you get scared, you like, that's kind of what I did.
I pull the bed.
Oh yeah. I snuggle my kids sleep with us still sometimes because they're so young, and I snuggled up to my kids and I pulled the covers over the top of us real close. And I was like, oh man, it was like a weird thing. And so I remember that, but so I don't typically remember my dreams, but that definitely was something I remember. Those, you know,
and what was the purpose? Sorry, again, what was the purpose of that pod?
I don't really know. I just was falling all over the place in there. And there was something in the region, like outside of it or something. But in my mind, it was some sort of like, it must have been some sort of ET or something, some sort of creature or something outside of it. I just had that feeling that something was there, you know, like.
I'm going to share a picture, because this was identical to the pod that I had seen here. Hang on, let me just go to share my screen. Window.
Is it Demolition Man pod?
Nope. No, this is from, I believe, Alien.
No, not really. That's interesting that it's from the movie Alien, though, and that's what you had a dream about. That's crazy.
Yeah, and see how it's kind of like this. This was very similar, but the pods were more roomy. Yeah, that dream was June 1st, 2013. Yeah.
So, this is your dream. Okay, this is yours.
This is my dream. Yeah, this is how I keep my dream journals. Yeah, so awesome. I put the date. And if it's the first dream, and then I, write kind of like the header of what it is, like the gist. Oh, this is a time travel dream, and this was it. Yeah,
I can't remember description of it exactly. Like, I can't remember details of it, but what it felt like was an airplane bathroom almost. You know, it was it was tight. Oh. It was like a tight, smaller white room. Yeah, yeah. But I was just kind of like banging all around in there, like a stiff, like whoa, what's going on? So, not very descriptive, I know, but it was a weird dream for sure. It was something weird that happened, enough to where, like, when I woke up, it was like, okay, something's here, something's around, I don't know what it is. And you know, sometimes dreams feel real to me when I wake up and they give you eerie feelings or whatever. It doesn't happen all the time, but that night
I feel those ones like kind of like what Nix was talking about, where sometimes she wakes up and you're just like, doesn't feel like you slept at all. Those are the types of dreams, the ones that feel so real. You know, you wake up and it's just like, okay, I need to go to sleep. I need to rest from my dreams because they were so taxing on me. You know, it's just like, oh my God, it's crazy. Yeah. Some of the ones that are very intensive,
do you think that
are like that?
Do you think that you were part of? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Brian.
No, I was gonna say, do you think you were part of the 20 and back program or something like that, where you had to like go help somebody? Like, oh, he's back. The old sergeant is back to teach the young folks how to do it.
I don't believe at all. I don't believe at all that I was involved with the there and back kind of program. But yeah, it's interesting.
There's those dreams, like when you do have a bad dream, like you don't want to go back to sleep right away. You want to get up for a little bit. Maybe you could like go get a glass of water because you're afraid to go back to sleep because you don't want to be back in that dream.
Oh no, I'll straight up get up and do work because I'm like, I don't want to go back to that scary, whatever the hell that was. I'll just sit up all night.
So you know what? You guys keep talking because if we're on the topic of dreams, there was someone who, so again, like I said, I post to Reddit. You know, I say I'm not that active, but I'm getting more and more active on Reddit. So sometimes I'm like, I'm going to fish for some guests on Reddit because either you're going to hit like the biggest trolls or you're going to hit some really authentic people. Like when I was asking you guys, like, what was your craziest experience that you've heard on your show? That would be from one of my Reddit, a guy from Reddit. He had, I'll fill you guys in on this one because this is the craziest experience that I've ever heard in my life. So, and I'm not sure if I told you this, Brad. So this gentleman was living in Michigan, and he was going to school, and school was ending. You know, like he was in university, and everybody was headed home because the majority of the students in this city or this town that he lived in were just there for the school and summertime, going home. So he was going to like, well, it's too far for me to go home. I'm going to stay and work because I have a fairly decent job and I'm just going to put in more hours and make some money. But the place that he was renting was kind of like a combined place. So he had to leave. And what he did was he found another gentleman was like, listen, you can stay in my trailer because I'm leaving, but you need to watch my dog. So he was like, great. That's a great thing. So he's kind of out in the rural area. So the one evening, he's taking a shower, and I think water is important in this as well. Okay, because you'll hear a lot of things here. So he was taking a shower, and he hears the door just like on the trailer just slam open, and he's like, "What the hell?" So he dries off quickly, goes out, and the dog is gone. Okay, the dog isn't in the trailer anymore, and the door is wide open, and there's a huge storm outside. So he's like, oh shit, my job is to watch this dog. So he quickly changes, runs outside, and he starts, calling for the dog, trying to find the dog. And he can hear the dog had a collar with like a bell or something on it that was making a noise. And he could hear it across this kind of open pasture field and into like this wooded area. So he's like, okay, I'm headed out there. So he started running in this field, and it's a wide open field. There's nothing in there. He gets smoked in the face by something. Something hit him in the face extremely hard, knocking him unconscious. So he gets up. He doesn't know how long he's been lying out there. It's raining. He gets up, and he's kind of bloody on his face, and he's like, doesn't hear anything, and he's like, I got to go back to the trailer. So he goes back to the trailer. The door is closed, of course, because he closed it when he left, and the dog is inside the trailer. Dog is bone dry. It's as if it didn't leave. And he's kind of baffled at that time. And he had some incidents sleeping there. He had some issues with some incidents sleeping, but I'm not going to go into that. So his job was, he was like the night auditor at a hotel. So a little while later, he's working at the hotel. He works the evening shift or the night shift where no one else works. And he says that he's sitting there and the door is open, the sliding door is open. And sometimes that happens, like sometimes the motion sensor will go off, but the door is open, and he feels like if someone walks by you, you can kind of feel like the brush of wind, So he felt like someone walked by him, and then the elevator gets called down to the lobby. Doors open, doors close. It goes to the third floor, doors open, doors close, because he's got CCTV cameras everywhere, so he's able to see this. He's like, what is going on? Lets it go. A little while later, same night, he notices in the CCTV camera by the ice machine and kind of like vending machine in that area, there is a shadow figure. It's just off to the side of the camera, so you can't see the whole thing, but he sees this hooded shadow figure, and he's like, okay, what is going on? So in this figure is just standing there, not moving. So he's like, okay, I'm going to go check. So he goes up there to go check on it, and there's no one there. No one standing there, but there's a pool of the stinkiest water ever. This pool of water. And he's like, it smelled like death. Like this water smelled like death. It was black. And so he's like, maybe it's the ice machine. So he went, got a mop, mopped it up, went back. A little while later, the exact same incident happens where he sees someone on the camera. He goes there. There's no one there. And it's the stinkiest black death water. He mops it up. So the next day, so he finishes all his duties, signs his audit, drops it off. The next day he gets called by the manager. The manager's like, hey, I need you to come in. He's like, okay. So he goes in, and the manager's like, yeah, you never did your audit. And he's like, no, I did. I did do my audit. She's like, no. And he's like, well, why didn't you do your audit? Did anything happen? He's like, well, there was this incident that happened. Oh, I'm missing one thing. That at around 4 a.m. or 5 a.m, elevator doors open again. Something walks past him, goes out the front door's open. So whatever was in there left, some sort of entity left. Fast forward again. So he got called in. He's like, no, something strange happened. So they review the CCTV cameras, and they see him standing there motionless for 3 hours at this ice machine, not moving, just standing there, frozen in time. And then all of a sudden, boom, he just starts moving again, like nothing. He was stuck in a spot in there. So his manager's like, you're weird, and ended up writing him up, like gave him a disciplinary action for it. And he says the next couple of weeks were very difficult because, of course, the story gets around about this weird guy, and he ends up finally like just quitting. Like it's become so difficult. He quits, and he's like, that's it, I'm going home. I'm going to drive back to Florida. He's still in Michigan. He packs up everything, leaves. And as he's leaving, there's a rest stop. And he's like, I got to use the bathroom, still in Michigan. And so he goes into the bathroom. And as he's going into the rest stop, this hooded figure, a hooded person comes busting out of out of this rest stop, kind of like almost knocks him over. And he's like, what the hell? So he goes into the bathroom, and he notices that there's a slippery wet or tape all over the women's bathroom because there's water flooded out of the women's bathroom. So he's like, whatever, I got to use the bathroom. So he goes and uses the urinal. And he says, then he notices out of the corner of the eye, this hooded figure, this hooded person comes back into the bathroom and goes into the stall right next to the urinal that he is using. And that guy code, that's not what you do. You always kind of try to stay as far away as everybody as possible. And he says there was these noises coming from the bathroom, not like those noises, but there was noises coming from the bathroom, very strange. And he's like, what the hell? He's like, that's it, I'm out. And so he starts washing his hands, and this person or thing that was in the stall calls his name, knows his name, and calls his name. He says it was the most, what is the word I'm looking for? Like seductive, not like as in sexual, but it was like this calling that is like, oh my God, I have to go. And he started to turn around and started to go, but he's like, no. He splashed water on his face, and he's like, no, I'm going. And all of a sudden it demanded his name. He said it was extremely called his name like Andy. And he turned around, opened the door to the stall of the bathroom. And next thing he knows, he wakes up in his car, doesn't know how much longer. He's almost out of gas now. His car has been running this whole time. He has peed himself. He has vomited bile all over himself, and he's in his car and he has no idea what just happened.
Crazy.
This is the story. He ended up driving, like he went to the nearest gas station. He could barely get to the gas station, filled up, and just drove straight home. He called his mom. His mom set him up with some psychologists and whatnot. And of course, they're like, "Oh, it was you were sleepwalking, or it was to do with your sleeping."
That is nuts. So it's like it was a missing time, man. Why is that always like that's what it is, right? I mean, he's getting abducted or something, and they're just shutting him down, right? And then just putting him wherever. Okay. Like that. Why does that happen? How can they? That's the question that bugs me the most about abductions. How can they just like shut us down if they wanted to come get us and abduct us or whatever? How can they just shut our consciousness down and then turn it back on whenever they want? Because when people have, I have a cousin that I had on my show named Emily, and she was I think abducted. She had missing time. She said they were her and the guy that he was in the military, and then she was they were in there. It was on like a training mission, and this was like Wyoming or something like that. And they were in the woods in like the national forest, and they were doing like a training mission, and they were all their like Humvees were in a row, and then they looked up, her and the guy that she was with, the sergeant that she was with, and they saw this bright orb in the sky. And she said she just remember staring at it. And then, they kept driving as if like nothing happened, but then they noticed that nobody was around them anymore. And then when they got back to their squad there, everybody was like, "Where y'all been? It's been like 4 hours." And they were like, "What are you talking about? We were just, you guys must have sped up or something." And so she had, but how can, like the Betty and Barney Hill case, like how can that's what stands out in my mind the most, right?
I don't think they're turning off your consciousness, because I think during the event and everything that's going on, you're conscious. You totally know what's going on. You totally know what's happening. But I think it's after the event that they then either suppress those memories, delete those memories, or like Vicky Joy would say, they put in like a screen memory, like something else that you or something else that you last remember this, and that's it. And
like a chip or something. So like that's what
possibly like they just I personally think your memories are being suppressed. I think if you
I do too.
Like Andy, the gentleman there who had this problem, like he still has PTSD. It affects him greatly. Like, when I did that interview, it was probably one of the harshest interviews I've ever done. Like for the interviewee, like he's reliving a lot of it again. It was difficult. It was very brave of him to come forward and to talk about this. And he's been, we've been trying to reconnect again. And I really should reach out to him again and see how he's doing.
Man, that's crazy.
Brad, I thought it was interesting how you said this happened to your cousin in a national forest.
Yeah.
Out of all places, with all the weird stuff that goes on in these national forests and missing people, missing 411.
Listen, man, I'm telling you, I just had a great conversation with Paul Stobbs about all of this stuff, and he seems to be so sure about everything he's saying, which makes me believe it. Obviously, when someone's confident in what they're saying, I'm like, yeah, this is probably right. But he had this kind of theory that like the national forests are just, and it's my theory as well. But it's funny because like I have these same thoughts as a lot of people, but like some people are just like more well read and they can speak a little bit better than me, And Paul's one of those guys. So when he's putting it into words, he's like, "Hey man, I think that these national forests are covers for like all of these like underground places where, I don't remember what he was calling it, but basically, I'm going to butcher this, but essentially all these creatures, they're offspring of like Nephilim. They're all like hiding in the national forest in underground bases and things like that. And there will be a time where
underground bases, are you meaning like DUMBs? Deep underground military bases?
Or bunkers?
Kind of like he was describing, he said Jurassic Park type world, which I think like another world within a world almost. Like there's other caverns or caves or something, because the light, they can't interact with the light because it's the time of Christ right now.
Yeah, I actually had Alan Greenfield on my show, but we talked about I can definitely see things being in caves, especially since
Yeah.
like you look at the size of Mammoth Cave, you know, you go in there deep enough, like who knows what you'll find.
Yeah, that reminds me of like Argatha, you know, the kingdom that is within Earth as well. It's a legendary kingdom that is said to be located on the inner surface of the Earth. You know, there's supposed to be a light source, like not of the sun, but a different type of light source that is inside and is supposed to keep it lit.
I think there's like, what is it, Lemuria too? Isn't Lemuria another one that's in the inside of the Earth?
A lot of people believe Lemuria was very similar to Atlantis and that we lost Lemuria. Lemuria, I think, might have been before Atlantis or something like that, like an advanced civilization that we lost. But
the Moors,
that is all just speculation. I'm just speculating.
Yeah, a lot of this stuff obviously was speculation. But yeah, the Lemurians were the Moors, which are like the Black Native Americans of the world, essentially. Mm-hmm. And so Michelle Gibson talks a lot about that on her website, piercingtheveilofillusion.com. Like there's a lot of good information about the Lemurian people. Like she's one of the best researchers, man. She's a super sweet lady too. So like Nix, if you ever want to talk to her, she's great. She'd be great to have on your show to talk to about stuff. I'm just not
great. I'm always looking for new people.
Yeah, when I have these conversations with people, I don't belong in the conversation, but I do every now and then throw something in there and they're like, oh, that's interesting. You know, like, okay, he said something that's, you know, halfway intelligible. So I got this thing here though, guys, I don't remember where I found this at, but I try to keep things when I find it because who knows if I ever find it again.
I hear you. Yeah. I have so many like screenshots of stuff that I got to screenshot this so I don't forget this. Yes.
Dude, I had a whole folder, and I said this on Tinfoil Hat when I was on there. Like I had a whole folder that was titled 33 or something like that. I'm very, you know, I know that the governments are spying on us and stuff like that. So I usually name folders and stuff that are a little bit different. So I don't know if I named it 33 or whatever, but essentially that folder got deleted or something. It's like gone.
Really?
I don't know where it went. So I'm like, it was a bunch of like good 33rd parallel information. And there was a lot of screenshots from 2020, the beginning of 2020. And Sean Hibbler mentions this in his Fluva-19 documentary. Mm-hmm. And what he was saying was like there was 33 everywhere, essentially. That's true. I had screenshots of all that. Now you can Google that stuff now and you won't find any of it. So it's pretty interesting stuff. But I have this underground cities and bases, like long, and I mean like thousands of pages long of, I don't even know where it came from. It's a Word document, and it just lists all of the underground bases.
All the underground dumbs. Wow.
Yeah, it's like, I'll give you an example. Let me, gosh, there's so many of them. The deep, dark secret at Dulce. Dulce is a sleepy little town in northern New Mexico of about 900 people, located above 7,000 feet of the Jicarilla Apache Indian Reservation. It's just describing the town. The secret is harbored deep below the tangled brush of the Archuleta Mesa. The secret is said to be a joint government alien biogenic laboratory designed to carry out bizarre experiments on humans and animals. New Mexico State Police Officer Gabe Valdez was drawn into the mysteries of Dulce when called to investigate a mutilated cow in a pasture 13 miles east of Dulce on the Manuel Gomez Ranch. Gomez had lost 4 cattle to mutilations between 1976 and June 1978. It just goes on to talk about more about the cattle mutilations and stuff like that. They found a glittery substance on the right side of the neck, the right ear, and the right leg. Samples of the affected hides were removed, as well as control samples from the same animals. And Albuquerque analyzed the samples and found significant deposits of potassium and magnesium. The potassium content was 70 times above normal. If somebody wrote this, first of all, like who writes stuff like this that's so detailed and like, potassium content was 7. That can't be like faked. I guess it could be, but it doesn't sound like it is.
It doesn't sound. No.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
On April 19th, 1988, I arrived in Dulce to visit with Gabe and inquire about the sightings, the mutilations, and the rumors of the underground alien base. Do y'all want me to continue reading on or just move past it?
I also find it funny that you bring up Dulce, because I had a previous guest who believes that her father was involved with experiments at the Dulce base, and she was born just off there as well. I need to double check that, because I'm pretty sure it was Dulce, but I don't quote me on that one. But yeah, and it was crazy actually, because prior to interviewing her, a couple days prior to interviewing her, I had a dream, and my dream mirrored a lot of the events that happened in her life, and that she ended up talking about like 3 days later during the interview.
Dude, this is a long ass article. It's an article apparently talking about the underground bases. So I don't know. Thomas alleges that there were over 18,000 short grays at the Dulce facility, and that he saw reptilian humanoids. A colleague had come face to face with a 6 foot tall reptoid, which had materialized in his house. Materialized. That's what I'm talking about all the times with plasma portals, right? Mm-hmm. The reptoid showed an interest in research maps of New Mexico and Colorado, which were on the wall. The maps were full of colored push pins and markers to indicate the sites of cattle mutilations, caverns, locations of high UFO activity, repeated flight paths, abduction sites, ancient ruins, and suspected alien underground bases. So there's a whole bunch of, there's a story after story. I don't even know, again, where I found this at. I can't even remember, but I remember reading some of this stuff and I was like, I got to save this somehow. Yes. You know what I mean? Like, this is pretty interesting, because you know how they tell us that if you build a bunker, you have to like have like a ventilation system and all that stuff, or you're going to die.
Yes. Yeah.
Like I find that hard to believe, because there's some bunkers that I just saw a video on Instagram the other day of this guy who explored a bunker that went like miles deep, and he didn't have there was no like ventilation shaft or anything nearby. It was just like this deep, dark.
Well, the issue though is that some gases are heavier, and that is the issue. Is if you have a way to move the air around, then you're okay. If there's a way for air movement through there, it doesn't necessarily. And that's what I mean by possibly what they mean by ventilation, is to move it around, because you can hit into a place that is, heavily concentrated with carbon dioxide, and you're done, and it's that's the issue, is that you'll just pass out and you'll that'll be it. 1 second here.
So level 1, this is describing the base, I'm assuming. Level 1 contains the garage for street maintenance. Level 2 contains the garage for trains, shuttles, tunnel boring machines, and disc maintenance. The studies on level 4 include human aura research, as well as aspects of telepathy, hypnosis, and dreams. We're talking about dreams. Nice. Thomas says that they know how to separate the bioplasmic body from the physical body to place an alien entity life force matrix within a human body after removing the soul, the life force matrix of the human. So interesting.
NPCs. When we talk about NPCs, like that's
take the soul from.
Or like like Robert Sullivan, when you had him on, he talks about truth in the movies, like the movie Venom. Of course it's a comic book as well, but it's like these symbiotic relationships of like these alien type entities within the human, and that kind of sounds something similar. But when they're removing the soul and allowing this person to go in, that's interesting.
Okay, this next part ties into kind of what we were just talking about with the pods. So level 6 is privately called Nightmare Hall. It holds the genetic labs where experiments are done on fish, seals, birds, and mice that are vastly altered from their original form. There are multi-armed and multi-legged humans in several cages and vats of humanoid bat-like creatures as tall as 7 feet. The aliens have taught the humans a lot about genetics, things both useful and dangerous. The gray and reptoid species are highly analytical and technologically oriented. They have had ancient conflicts with the Nordic humans from other space societies, and maybe staging here for a future conflict. Intensely into computing and bioengineering sciences, they are led to doing reckless experiments without regard for what we consider to be ethical and empathetic conduct toward other living creatures. So, is that your puppy? Got to go out?
No, I think she just heard something. She's like, yeah, one second. I'll just mute this while she finishes her barking. Yeah.
That's fine. But that's interesting, man, that these places like exist. I mean, like that's a pretty detailed, like, I mean, even as a
like
writer,
they were making chimeras.
Sounds like they're just making whatever. You know, like they're just
it definitely sounds like, you know, the time of when the Watchers of the Fallen were, you know, experimenting and creating these chimeras, like you said. There's Nick's. I agree.
And what happened when they were doing that? God said, "All right, flooded the earth." You know, I think we have.
But that's not going to. Floods aren't going to happen again. So, which is interesting. You know, they're not going to reset the world with a flood, which, you know, that seems to be the calling card of climate change, is that everything is flooding. You know, we're flooding everything, but that's not how it's supposed to be. You know, it's kind of I don't know, just something to think about.
Allegedly, the Dulce underground labs are run by the Department of Energy. So, which is everybody in the United States kind of knows about the Department of Energy having all these weird big budgets and all kind of crazy stuff in the United States.
I'm out of the loop on that one.
Rise in Mexico, Nick. So like, are you past your bedtime now, Nick?
No, I can stay out a bit longer. Okay. Yeah, I think I probably max is 45 minutes longer, but
I don't want to go too much longer. You know, maybe like a half hour or something like that. You definitely.
That's fine with me.
Yeah. And so what about Eisenhower, or was it Roosevelt? Yeah, I think it was Roosevelt gave the Greats permission to capture people for experimentation.
I thought it was Eisenhower.
Or Eisenhower. Okay. Which is interesting because, you know, it's kind of like we have to, I think it has to be an agreement. We have to agree to be able to be abducted. Now, what that agreement was is what that agreement was possibly a, you know, like maybe the president of the United States said, yes, we can do this, but if you enlist to vote or you sign up in these terms and agreements, you are agreeing for something. You know, it's one of those things.
Yeah, probably. When we have birth certificates, we probably signing all the kind of rights over to these things when we get birth certificates in the United States, which is a whole nother thing.
Social Security number.
Right. The National Security Act of 1947 was created on July 26, 1947, and it was signed into law by President Harry Truman, who was the 33rd president, on the Sacred Cow, which was Air Force One. So this was 3 weeks right after the Roswell crash happened. Okay. So in what the National Security Act did of 1947, it created the Department of Defense, the Secretary of Defense, the National Security Council, the Air Force. It created, a whole bunch of entities, but some of the biggest ones I've already named: Director of National Intelligence, like a whole bunch of things. So this all came just a few weeks after the Roswell crashes, where they allegedly recovered 3 alien bodies. So
interesting.
And so my thought is maybe they got some information from these things, and they were like, okay, we need to start working with these things. And so they spun up all these, you know, different departments and stuff, because this was like an emergency. He was flying around as if something happened for a couple of weeks, right? That he would land, they would land and refuel.
What happened? Yeah. What happened? Oh,
yeah. So like, so, you know, did that happen when the Roswell crash happened? Did we come into some kind of agreement with them where we were giving them, you know, souls or whatever, or bodies, whatever, sacrifices in exchange for medicines? And in exchange for medicines and scientific discovery and metals and technology and different things. So,
yeah, a lot of people talk about Roswell and Area 51. I'm originally from Northeast Ohio, but Ohio has near Dayton, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, which they were a part of that project Blue Book. But supposedly a lot of odd things they have down there and stuff, but it doesn't seem to be something talked as much about as like, Area 51 and Roswell and some of those other hot spots. But I definitely think there's probably some interesting things going on at that facility.
Oh, for sure. That's where what's up, Cesar? That's where
what's
they took
up, guys?
That's where they took the bodies, the Roswell bodies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, supposedly the Candleheart Giant was taken there too, I think I heard.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, I mean that's what I heard too, is what I'm saying. I don't know that would be a fact.
What you guys talking about?
Just talking shit about you. What's up, man?
Yeah, exactly. We're just talking about we're talking about everything, man. It's everything. So welcome, Cesar. Welcome, Cesar.
Cesar, yeah, it's all good. Yeah,
talk about aliens in the Air Force, and this what shows up.
Yeah, it's all. I'm all of that wrapped up. Hi, is it Nick's?
Yes, it's
okay.
Nick's.
Good to meet you. I think when I caught earlier, I went to like some concert with the family, and then when I saw Corega was live, I was like, oh, I gotta check it out real quick and everything, and the family was like, all right, go. But I did hear that you also are like a newish podcaster.
Yes. Yeah.
Cool.
Originally I started as just like a content creator, like creating posts on research I did and everything. And then I had some podcasters ask me on, and I had a lot of like feedback from those podcasters, and people in the community said I should start my own podcast. And I was a little hesitant at first, but I finally decided that I was going to do it. And so, so it's been great so far. And I just love getting to talk to all different kinds of people and hearing all different kinds of opinions and theories and experiences.
Absolutely. And if you are paired with these two awesome gentlemen here, you are good to go. You are in fantastic company.
Yes.
Caesar's my Air Force buddy from 20 years ago that we were like best friends when we were stationed together in Tampa a long time ago, man. And
we're still best friends, man. Don't say word. That's and what's funny is that when you say 20 years ago, because like
it's crazy.
Yeah, like I'm my power number. I love numerology. Okay, I'm big on numerology, and my power number is 2. Okay, because my day is 20. So 2 is a powerful number, and then with the 0 behind it, 0 is the infinity number, so it amplifies what 2 represents. So on that note, Brad, what's your birthday? The number?
10.
10. So you're a 1, okay? But so 1 is very intuitive, and with the number 0 following it, it amplifies that. So you're a very intuitive guy. So keep doing what you're doing. Ray, what's your power? What's your day?
7. And I actually did a lot of numerology. I did a little bit of I did a course on numerology as well.
Oh, so hey, I'm not telling you anything.
No,
you don't already know.
No, I would love to hear your take on it.
And then Nick's, what's yours? Your day?
Also, forgive the lag on my camera, so it seems to be laggy. But so this is kind of like a trick answer question. I was adopted. My birth certificate says the 14th, but they moved my birth date back into the 14th from the 15th, so that when the attorney left for out of town, I didn't have to be in foster care for 2 weeks. My parents could just take me home before he left. So technically it's the 15th.
It's the 15th. So that, I mean, it's honestly, it's whatever day you want it to be. If you want to pick 13, 12, 11, but you're saying the 15. So that means that your power number, or as some would say, your lucky or your destiny number, is 6 because you got to add it up to come to that
Right.
one number and stuff. So the point is, like, your power number is where if you see that number the most, it's good for you. Like, for example, let's say you were going to a job interview and the street, like in this case, Brad, you say you're 10. Let's say yours is like First Avenue or 10th Avenue or something. First of all, that's great. If you also see the one if you go to a building and the building has a 1, so let's say it's like 1428 is the building number, right? The fact that the 1 is in the front is really good. As long as the 1 is anywhere is great, but as long as it's further up, it's even more luckier. So that means that you're gonna have good stuff. So if I go to a restaurant, I'll just look up the address just for the hell of it, and if it adds up, if it breaks down to like a 2, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna eat well here, So yeah, so even like on a receipt, a paycheck, whatever the case is, if you guys see your power numbers, like, just go for it, So yeah.
Well, you guys are Reiki masters, right? Or Cesar, you're not a Reiki master, are you?
I don't know.
Right, you're a Reiki master, is that correct?
Yes, yeah, I'm a Reiki master, and then I also studied under a shaman and a medicine woman as well.
What is? Can you please explain that to me? Because I don't really know.
On which
Reiki
one?
master.
Reiki master.
Yeah.
Okay, so just Reiki in itself is like you are a conduit for the energy. It's kind of like the ether is all around us, and you're able to direct it. And it's not like I'm giving you energy to heal things. I'm just able to transmute it through me to you. Gotcha. It's kind of like it's you got this pile of energy here. You got the person who needs it here. You're the connector between it. That's what it is. It's not like oh, I'm this great person that can do it. No, you are the facilitator. That's what it is. That is what you are. So yeah, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, when I've given massages before of my wife or whatever, like I can hover my hand over and just sense the areas that are need to be massaged or whatever, for whatever reason. Is that what that is?
That is like, so that's kind of like almost a scanning in the beginning of it. Some people, it depends on how you're doing this. Some people will just be like, I'm just going to give you like if you do it and I was taught the very my first degree. So there's first degree, second degrey, third degree, and then I think your third degree is also your master. It's been a while since I've actually done this, but yeah, I think your third degree is your master. Now, the first degree I was taught was very of the old ways. Like, it was the person was 7th removed. Like, she was the 7th in line of the actual and it's been so long since I've done this. So of the actual person who developed Reiki himself, the actual. So it was like not even 7th. It was the gentleman who did it, then another master, then this lady, and then my master, and then me. So I guess I was 5 or something like that. It's interesting, and I have kind of strayed away from it all. Like I've moved away from a lot of it. It's not for any reason other than just going through some hard times. When you're just kind of focusing on trying to, times were rough, especially we'll say around like, COVID times, where I really felt that it caused a lot of people to move in on themselves and to kind of like, to let some things go. And that was one of the things I kind of let go. But I am slowly bringing things back into practice again.
Well, maybe that's what happened when you went in that dream. They're like, hey, you're, like I said, the 20 and back, man. You're the old sergeant that comes in and show us your ways, old master. Teach us how to raise your frequency from 4.1 to 4.9.
Yeah, 4.1 to 4.9. That's interesting. Yeah.
But yeah, we were talking, Cesar, we were talking about underground bases and stuff, man. And like,
yeah, like which ones?
Well, there's a lot of them allegedly.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't know it's up on this document.
No, isn't there one like right off of Tampa Bay?
Dude, I went to Cesar's in Florida, in Tampa.
Boom.
There's a
hurricane season. Whoa.
But there's a lot of activity in Tampa all the time. They just had like a triangle shaped UFO over the city in Tampa recently. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Well, so if you go the opposite direction straight across, that's the Bermuda Triangle. So like I wouldn't imagine that it's too far-fetched to say that they got the base there to monitor activities of the Bermuda Triangle or something.
Yeah. The triangle-shaped UFO that was spotted downtown. Did you guys see the patent for a triangle-shaped UFO on the US patent website?
No.
Yo, there's well, I'll probably look for it, but anyways, there is an actual US stamped patent for the specs and man, you know what? I gotta find this crap because now that it's mentioned
for something that for something that you just saw or that they just saw. Sorry.
No, apparently it's been out. Oh, here, shit, I got it. How can I share my screen? Is there or
I'll
send it to you.
I'll put it in the comments.
Yeah, I'll put the link. Is it on comments? Yeah, there it is.
I gotta learn how to set up lives and all that stuff, right? So we can. I gotta start doing it at some point, dude. I don't know how to do all this, and you got such a great audience, man, and Mouse helps out as well, and everybody helps out all the time. DJ Tyler Radio.
Mouse is awesome, and we Smurfy, Lisa, Diana. Yeah,
I'm reading the comments as it's going, and they're having a good conversation in there too. Like
I know. I try not to because I get so distracted sometimes, and I'm like, because it's almost two different conversations going on at the same time. Yeah.
I just sent it to you, right?
How did you send it?
On the private chat.
Okay, yeah, I see it right there. Okay.
Hey.
Yo, open this up. Share the world because they're gonna be like, what the hell?
All right.
Cesar, your camera looks a lot better, bro. It looks really good.
Hey, thanks to you, buddy.
Your lighting looks good too, man.
Yeah, it definitely does. Okay, here we go.
Oh, look at this. Okay,
that's what's in Tampa right now.
Go to the download PDF. Go to the download PDF button so you can see the PDF, and then show that. That's the actual patent.
Okay. Then I need to reshare because I'm only sharing the one screen. So give me 1 second.
All right, cool.
Stop screen sharing and then present again.
Don't pull up the hentai.
Here we go. All right.
Look at this, ladies and gentlemen. We have a United States patent. Now, I mean, this tells you the specs. I don't know too much about patents, but here's what I do know. What a patent says that we have the materials to build this. The specs make sense to where, like, all right, go ahead and whoever submitted this, go ahead and use this. And it should work, and build however many of these and blah 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 and everything stuff. Now, in the beginning, in the other page where you were at before you went to the PDF, it says the status. That's fine. But the status of this patent has been abandoned. When was it abandoned? Back in like 2007. So here's what that means.
Oh yeah, because this has been since 2006. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. 2006. So it was abandoned. So someone submitted it and whatever. I mean, you guys can dig through this thing all day. But the point is that once it's abandoned, that means that whoever initially put it in, they didn't pay to continue the patents or whatever the case is. So it's just kind of weird that we see a triangular shaped UFO, and then all of a sudden this thing is found. It's like, did you guys put it out there for a reason? Like
I sent you a link in the chat. Pull that picture of put this side. Do it you can't do it side by side, but like pull the UFO picture of the triangle shaped UFO in.
We are putting Rye to work right now.
This is what I live for this. I live for this. Hang on.
He's trying to get off the show right now. And he's like,
all right, no, he's not. No, we're not letting you off yet. You are going to show the people this.
Scroll down about halfway through the article too, because it's like kind of down a little bit.
Okay. But look, while he's doing that, so they abandoned it. That means that anybody, you, me, any of us can pick this up and go build it. That's it's so. And then on top of that, that leads you to like I found like 24 or 25 different UFO related technology patents. The US just stamped it, and you're like, what? Like it's so in your face that a lot of people are just shut down and be like, whatever. No, it's
listen,
like
they can build craft all they want, but the stuff that goes in and out of reality is a different thing. You're talking about materials. You're talking about meta materials that we don't have.
Well, we can mimic it all day, like you said. Yeah. We can reverse engineer and fly it around and everything stuff, but still, like, what the hell? Whoa, this is like the infinity. Okay.
That's what reality looks like. Yeah, look at
this. Yo, there it is. Look at that. Hey, look, we just showing you guys the receipt. We're just showing you the receipt. All right, that's all we're doing here.
Yeah,
that's so awesome.
Is this the one that is this what you wanted me to?
Yeah,
that's a real sighting. Well, I mean, that's a real picture from somebody that took.
Yeah, from the cameras. Like people were out there. Like what
look at you can definitely see like in the middle here, and then over here.
We're just saying.
Hey, look at where the patent comes from. San Juan, Puerto Rico. That shit is Caesar all day.
Well, that's why I showed you guys. Duh. But anyways, yeah, stuff like this, man, is just crazy. Like something happens, and then other things show up, and like I've talked to other folks in the past, is like they're releasing all this information. The government now, all these active 1-star generals who before were like, don't talk about this. Now they're like, yeah, aliens do exist. UFOs do exist. Oh yeah, we reverse engineer that. So it's so in your face that when that people just
shit.
Be like,
I gotta show you guys something. You guys keep talking. There is something I gotta show you that
listen. Christ is coming back. More light is coming in. We're gonna see these things more. The veil is gonna be lifted a little bit more. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
What is the year of Satan? I mean, the 1,000 years of Satan called again. I got it written down somewhere.
Okay, so I'm going to show you this
Satan
one because
the little season, the 1,000 year of Satan's rule, the little season, it's coming to an end. That's what's.
So when's the end? When's like
well, it's supposed the little season is 1,000 years. The big season is like 2,200 years allegedly, right? So like the little season is when. Well, that's just my theory on it. What is
this?
Check this out.
A cluster of
No. Watch though. That's a triangle now.
Where's that?
Oh yeah.
If you pause it for sure. Oh,
Okay,
you can't pause it. But I'm saying like if they
went from clusters, right?
Yeah.
They went from clusters and then.
Well, you saw triangle shaped UFO
news coverage. This was in Israel. In Israel, right?
Yeah, they're like shooting down the bombs, the missiles and stuff that they're shooting from the Iron Dome or whatever.
There is here it is. This is the one I wanted to check this out. Okay. Someone inverted it. So okay, but here we go. It's like a freaking Dementor. Did you see that thing?
Yeah, it's just like a shadow flying through.
That's awesome. Damn. What the? I mean, that's just
that's like a Dementor from Harry Potter, man.
This breaking news obviously is an actual newscast, so we're not talking about like anybody just putting a filter in here and CGIing or anything, are we? Like,
no,
this is from a news.
This is from a news. I tried finding it myself though because I saw this on this on the site, but I couldn't. I couldn't. Yeah, there it is. That's the best I can get.
That's crazy, man. I mean, but yeah, there's all these things out there like that, man. It's just it's cool to see it. Speaking about what's really cool, right? I saw your post, which I borrowed it from me too. The alien interviewing
the alien interview
interrogation. Now, oh my
God. I believe this is an old interview. Tony had on, was it Tony or was it Sam? Had on it could be Jerry Lawler. Don't quote me on this one, but an old wrestler, like a wrestler.
I say Jerry Lawler.
Jerry the King? Yes. What are we talking about?
Yes, I really believe so. Who has gone through this interview so thoroughly and says it's 100% legit. And to the point that he is going through like these screens in the back, and it's I was like, I got to find that interview. I'll share that interview with you. But it's so crazy, so interesting.
I think I made a comment on your post or something, but I was like, what I would want to do is have those animatronic experts come in and like review that tape and see if they see anything familiar, you know, because they know how certain joints move and everything. But other than that, I listened to it 3 times. Oh, 33rd. Anyways, three times I listened to it just because, fake or not, just what it was talking, what it was saying was still so captivating. It was interesting. Like,
well, that's what I mean,
yeah,
that's what I was just saying about. I was reading this underground cities. Like this is a collection of articles. It's thousands of pages of different underground bases, and like when you read it, it's like that just doesn't sound like somebody sat there and wrote this stuff out. Like it doesn't even. That sounds like a description, as if some. You know, when you watch someone, you can look in their eyes when they're talking about something. They're like looking around. They're trying to find the ways to describe it in their mind.
Right.
That's what when you read an article too, you can kind of dissect it a little bit like that. You can kind of like get the sense that someone is writing this from a purely like, oh, and then on the second level they had animals, and these animals had this, that, and other, and it's like that sounds like legit to me. So I'm sure that those things are real. Like, I mean, aren't we at the point already that we know these things exist? I mean,
yeah. I mean, like everybody's talking about it. I mean, we're at the age in the time that if people are saying like, I still don't believe it, like they just are making a conscious choice not to. Like they're fully saying, like I hear you, but I don't care about it, and that's okay. Yeah. That's okay. But we're already past that stage. We are like, if the main people, the government, right, the elites who have been saying they're the top guys and they're saying, guys, yay, there's nothing. And now they're saying that there is, done, case closed, period. Like those things exist. The question now is who's doing what about it? What's going on? Who now, like, don't just tell us they exist. Like, tell us why. Like, how are you guys so comfortable? Which is weird, right? Isn't the government always like, even in the movies, they're always the first ones to go in and try to kill everything? Why aren't you out there killing everything? You're just telling us it exists, but nonchalant. Yeah, guys, like, yeah, they exist. What are you doing? Well,
I used to be public relations in the Air Force. That's what I did. So I know all about perception management and all this stuff, man. And that's what I think is happening as well. They're kind of like slow leaking some stuff to be like, hey, we got a little bit, we're in control of this situation here. And also to kind of like get the story out there, because there's this thing that used to be done. This was 15 years ago when I was in, where if there was a negative story written about somebody or about military or some troop or general or whoever, we would work hard to put out positive stories, and we would put keywords in those stories. That way in Google, it would start kind of pushing that negative story down. So like, you don't know what's being put out there. They're actually probably putting stories out there all the time. That the triangle shaped UFO over Tampa looks kind of fake to me, just because I've been doing Photoshop for a long time, but I'm not discounting it at all. But they could be putting that kind of shit out there to kind of throw us off the scent of something else, is all I'm saying.
Something else. Yeah. Kind of like follow the ball.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be the next step is more of a deception and telling us these entities are in favor of us and want to help us.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is what I think we're here for, is to, enlighten others to let people know that you got to be careful. What if it seems too good to be true kind of thing? It probably is. You know what I mean?
Probably is. Yeah.
Yeah.
What you talking about? You talking about the star seeds? Is that what?
I'm talking about star seeds.
Yeah.
I think I'm a star seed, but I don't like to put a label on it, because I really don't, because I don't necessarily feel fully like I am. But every time I talk to somebody who really firmly believes that they are star seeds, I'm like, oh, maybe I am. Maybe I am. You know what I mean? Like, maybe I am a star seed.
I think
sounds
you are.
Cool. Sounds cool. I mean,
I think you are, for what it's worth. If you we already talked about your perception of your reality and everything stuff, so you are who you think you are,
which, you know, like Nix and Rye and all of us, we are doing this for a reason, but probably don't really know why the hell we're doing it. Like, I don't fully know why I'm doing this. I don't know why I'm talking about this shit on live on YouTube.
But it feels right.
Now.
But it feels right, right, guys?
It feels right.
Yeah.
And that's all that matters.
I definitely, of course, I think we all had our definite, like, one of the main, actually, I will say one of the drivers was I love listening to these shows. Loved listening to these shows. And I'm like, well, why can't I do that? You know, it's like, why do I have to wait for someone else to post a video or post a guest that, you know, it's like, oh, that's not the guest that I would have wanted. I want to hear more about this. I want to learn more about that. So why don't I do that? You know, so that's that was one of the reasons why I did it. Another reason was, you know, when I was talking about Andy, who had that incident in Michigan, Andy McAllister, was to give these people a platform where they're not going to be ridiculed, you know. But I think it's a fine line to walk, though, deciding who to bring on and who not to bring on, though. Like I don't like being. I feel really bad being a gatekeeper. But I think we still have to be careful. We have to use our discretion, you know, on who we're going to bring on, because sometimes there's some people that aren't genuine.
Yeah, I've had them. I've had people. I've had the episodes that didn't air because of that. You know what I mean? Like, I just felt
I had one that I wasn't going to. But I ended up doing it. And
how do you guys discern that? You just feel it, right?
You can just tell when somebody's kind of lying.
Yeah.
Or just
guts. Yeah, my gut feeling, as you would say, or, you know, my intuition. And everybody's like, "Oh, I got a gut feeling." Well, that's intuition. You know, it's my intuition that. But there are some that come out straight out that it's just like, "Oh no, you're off your rocker."
Yeah. I mean, coming from folks like us, just, you know, telling somebody, "Yeah, you're a little crazy."
Right.
I mean, we're the ones to determine this. We'll tell you who's crazy.
I see. Do y'all know who that guy Bashar is, by the way? Have y'all seen the guy who, like, closes his eyes and he's like
the channeling?
Yeah, he's channeling an alien.
What do you think about him?
Gets on my fucking nerves, man. I can't stand watching that guy, man.
I enjoy him.
No, I cannot stand that guy.
My good
it's such
friend,
a fake show. I don't know why.
My good friend, I believe, is a big follower of Bashar.
Oh my god,
a big follower, or like, and he goes to the events, goes to a lot of these events.
That is crazy. I mean, I'm not saying he's crazy, but I
don't
just
forget. Don't forget that Bashar originally, if you guys have understood his history, he was first a movie director.
Oh, see, that's the kind of shit I'm talking
about. So who knows how to put on a show? I don't know. Movie directors do. So, but he's good.
He gets.
Yeah, going back to like not knowing why we do this. I guess for me, it's like I'm on a journey myself, and I'm inviting my audience to come with me in trying to figure out, you know, what the hell is going on.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the same way with me.
Everybody's we're all doing the same thing, man. That's awesome. That's awesome.
That was very like the wholesome answer, and that too. Yes, me too.
Yeah. What's that? That song that in Willy Wonka where he's go, "Come with me, you something with a little imagination." You guys remember something like that? That's what I say. I just tell folks, come with me on my journey as I figure this out. You know, it's beautiful.
We take them on a journey. That's a big thing.
That's kind of why I named my show Stygian Charters. Is because I feel like I'm taking people on a voyage. What's that?
What is that? Like, for me, I know these guys know.
So Stygian, it's funny. It was kind of a synchronicity that happened. When I was trying to name my show, I was thinking about like Greek mythology and the river Styx, and most people mispronounce his name. They say Charn, but it's actually Cairn, poor guy, who's the ferryman who takes people across the river Styx. But nothing really like made sense because I wanted to make it like it was a voyage, and I feel like, you know, I was taking people or my audience through dark waters. So that's kind of what I was trying to do, and I didn't know how to do it. So on another side note, I really like owls. I always have. before I even came in this community, where the owl has become kind of stigmatized. But I was scrolling through Instagram and one of those sponsored ads came up and it was for the Stygian owl. And the Stygian owl is an owl in Central America and some of the Caribbean. And what's interesting about this owl is when artificial light hits its eyes, they turn red. And I'm like, oh, that's really weird and cool. I'm like, I wonder what Stygian means. And I looked up Stygian and it means dark and murky pertaining to the river Styx. And
you know what?
That was a real big synchronicity for me.
I have a picture of one of those owls that I took myself. I always thought it was here in just the next state over in Merida. I thought it was a great horned owl, and I took a picture and the eyes were red, exactly like you said. And I just Googled it, and I'm like,
yeah, so did I. I was like, what the hell is that?
Yes,
I mean, like all red, like just like Jolly Ranchers or whatever. I don't know.
So
yeah, and because it has the little tough ears, people named it the Stygian owl because it kind of had a devilish look to it.
So how does that relate to you?
Well, I was looking for a way to incorporate, an element from the river Styx or Karen, the ferryman, and I didn't know how. And then that's when I came across this post of the Stygian owl, and I didn't know what Stygian meant. So I looked it up, and it was like, ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
Stygian Charters.
It was yours. Nice.
Yeah.
So you take him on that. You take him across the water. Rye takes him through the woods. He goes beyond the frequency. And I'm there with you when you wake up.
There we go. I gotta find a picture of this owl that I took. Oh, here it is. Okay, I'm going to share this in 2 seconds. Gonna send it to my WhatsApp, because it's on my phone, not on my computer. So, okay, so I'm gonna have it here right away.
Right. When are you going to do like a live or episode showing all your dream journal images, like just a whole one after the other?
I don't have the time to do that, man. It's crazy. It's the amount of
that's what we want. We want to see the crazy.
Fair enough. Okay, hang on. Here we go. I'm gonna share the entire screen here, and here.
What the heck? Wow, you did take a photo of it.
That looks like that thing that was flying around the city you just showed us.
Oh yeah, the thing. Yeah, over the video.
So it was late at night, so I couldn't really, I wasn't really getting. But this is the owl that I took because I'm in Mexico, of course. That was it.
Yeah. Yes.
So they live. They live there. That's their habitat.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Look at all this stuff just circles back to each other, doesn't it? Everything.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like I thought it was. I'm like, I don't know what kind of owl because it's a huge owl, and I was like, it must be a great horned owl, I guess. But yeah, look at those eyes, man.
If I saw that thing right there, I'd be like, oh my god, that's a bad omen. I don't know, like something bad's gonna happen.
Well, there's a saying here. There's a saying here in Central, like in Mexico, where the natives will say when the owl hoots, someone dies.
Ooh. How often do they hoot?
Oh shit!
All the time.
I got 4 acres and like the woods right beside my bedroom. There's like 4 owls, and I swear to God, they must be 15 feet tall. Because when they fly through the woods, I hear a whoosh, whoosh.
Wow.
On their wings.
Yeah,
Wow.
and they hoot all night. I'm like, shit. Well, so hopefully somebody's dying. Hopefully it ain't us. You know what I mean? Like that's a lot of hooting going on.
Dang, man. I heard if an owl poops on you, it's good luck.
Well, I heard that
in general.
Yeah, but do you know why people say that?
Why?
Because they don't want to make you feel bad. It's like, oh, that really sucks. Man. It's like, oh, yeah, it's good luck. It's good luck.
Dude,
it's good luck for me because I didn't get shit on.
Yeah.
I got shit on. I've been to Pakistan like 4 times. Every time I've been to Pakistan, I got shit on by a bird. Every time. I don't know. I don't know
what kind of birds fly in Pakistan. Do you know?
No, I have no idea.
It's curious.
But I'm sure some kind of seagull or something. I mean, not seagull, a pigeon or something. You know what I mean? Some kind of. They got doves in the Middle East. Yeah, dude. The Middle East is so funny, man. Everywhere, every country in the Middle East has their president on a billboard with doves flying around him and stuff. This shit is so funny.
Yeah.
It's always like the imam or whoever, and they got like, or the sultan, and they got like doves flying out. Yeah,
they're flying out of their sleeves, out of their heads, everything. It's always doves. Yeah.
I don't know anything about the birds over there, but those camel spiders look horrifying.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Those are legit. I've questioned about that. I'm like, are they really legit?
Yeah, they are.
So they're legit. Yeah.
They can jump up to like a double bunk bed, and they can jump from floor all the way up to the top bunk. Yeah.
Dude,
I'd burn the place down.
No. But the Middle East is so beautiful, man. Like I was flying over Afghanistan in a helicopter, and we flew across a herd of like wild camels. And it was the most majestic thing I'd ever seen, man. It was just beautiful running across the desert. I was like, man, look at that. That's crazy. And then not even like a few miles later, we were, especially in Afghanistan, it's so beautiful in Afghanistan. There's like snowy mountains, and then there's waterfalls, and then there's desert. And so you could be flying over Afghanistan and hit all of those within a couple of miles from each other. So it's really, really crazy. But yeah, a lot of crazy stuff in the Middle East and a lot of crazy animals and stuff.
And as majestic as those camels were, if you like dive into them, you can actually see camel spiders stuck to them, just sucking their blood, or whatever. Real? Well, yeah. So what
me?
Yeah. So like they'll be on their,
okay.
No. I'm for real. So they'll be stuck on them and everything. And what they do is when they leech, so like pretend these are their legs and this is like their mouth here. And what they're doing is that they'll paralyze that area of the camel, so the camel doesn't feel that it's just on it and it's eating it. It's just sucking its nutrients and out of it and stuff. And then people we've had, like I've had guys that had them on their backpacks, on their uniforms, on their fatigues, where someone's like, "Yo, like get this thing off me," because they're just they're just crawling around and stuff, and you have to like pry them off and kill them or see them run off. But yeah, they paralyze you. Sometimes they'll spit, paralyze that area, and then jump on it. You don't even know that they're on you. So fun times.
No.
Look, with all the crazy stories that you've heard, Ryan, Brad, and Nick's, camel spiders shouldn't be that scary. Okay.
No, but in the Middle East, there's a lot of battlefield stories of UFOs, man, and like. A lot of people who like there's a Tales from the Grid Square is a good podcast. Is it a podcast? It's definitely an Instagram page where they tell stories of military encounters and stuff.
Had him on. I think that's where I heard him from.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, he's got a pretty good following, but there's lots of military members have stories of these crazy things happening on the battlefield, or like seeing UFOs during the middle of a firefight, or some just crazy stuff. Like a lot of security guys who work the post and stuff late at night, and they're riding around with their buddy or something, and they come across shadowy entities and stuff. There's a story I might have a guy on my show to tell that story one day, but he saw some crazy stuff, man. Some crazy like demonic looking things when he was doing security one night. He used to work with my mom, and so he's going to be coming on probably soon to talk about it, hopefully. Anyway, so lots of crazy military stuff. Just getting into that stuff would be fun. Just talking about military, because people, and Tony on the confessionals, he has a lot of these people come on and talk military stories of seeing Dogman. He did one with a guy that stands out in my mind. You remember the story of a guy, Rye? He was doing training. It was somewhere like Louisiana or somewhere like that. And he was laying on the ground, and he was by himself, and then a Dogman walked right in front of him and just like looked at him, stared him down and stuff like that.
No,
you have to hear that story. I can't remember the name of the episode, but it was right before mine, and I was on like, I was on in February, so at least I don't know the number, 620 maybe or something like that. I can't remember. So it was like right before mine. So go check that out.
I forget what they call the Dogman in Louisiana. They have a certain name for it. I feel like it starts with a B, but I can't remember what they call it. Do you guys know? I know Forbidden Knowledge News has talked about it a lot in his documentary about Louisiana.
Do you talk
I
about
don't know
like
dogma, but I know another name for the Sasquatch that starts with a B, like wood boogers. I don't know if that's a
Wood boogers.
wood boogers. Yeah. Wood boogers.
I just want to make sure I heard you correctly.
They call them the Satonga in Nebraska, Colorado area. They call them the Satonga, the Bigfoots. So pretty interesting. Do you talk about Nix? Do you talk about it on your podcast at all? Any of these cryptids and stuff?
I haven't yet, but that is a topic we would like discuss on my show. It's the Rougarou.
Rougarou, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Diana just posted that. So
Diana's always on it, by the way. She's always popping in with this information.
Yeah,
like for real. Like
she's got a Bigfoot icon too.
Yeah, hanging out in Florida apparently with the flamingo.
With the flamingo floaty, it looks like the flamingo floaty.
Yeah. That's a question I like to know. Can Bigfoot swim?
Why not?
Why not?
He could just.
I think they'll just turn into an orb and float over.
Yeah, I was gonna say they fly over.
Yeah,
they live in the water. They live in the water.
Do they?
Yeah, they all got bases in the water underneath. They call it underwater submergible. Was it
USO? Underwater submergible objects.
Yeah. Underwater submergible. Or maybe unidentified submergible objects. I don't know. One of those.
Yeah. No. Underwater or unidentified submerged object.
Yeah, which is again in that Bermuda Triangle area. There's been spottings. I mean, I think even Christopher Columbus spotted something in that region. Like he had a sighting in the Bermuda Triangle area of a UFO. There's stories of Bigfoot. I mean,
dang.
So I've
never heard that.
Thomas,
there was a guy.
Go ahead. Sorry.
There was a guy did reach out to. His name's Matt Emch, EMCH.
Matt Emch. He's one of my best friends.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
From like Youngstown?
Yep. He has a podcast called Planet 412.
Yes, I subscribe to that too. I actually sent an email to him a while ago, hoping to get him on my show. And since you asked me if like I talked about cryptids on my show, I remember hearing his story, and I've heard a lot. I mean, obviously, being in this community, you hear a lot of like different cryptid stories, but his was just so different, and I don't know. It was an incredible story, and I just couldn't get over it, and the detail he provided and everything. But it was one of the like scariest cryptid stories I've ever heard.
Yeah.
And so I've wanted to have him on to talk about it, because I just never.
I without saying too much, Matt is kind of working on something right now.
Mm-hmm.
So he is not really doing too many interviews about his incident until this comes to light or comes to fruition. I think, yeah.
Sure.
It's not that he's going to rudely be like turning you down, because like he did so many. And so, but right now it's just that there's something else that's coming. So he's kind of like not doing too many. So don't take that the wrong way. That if he
right.
But it's and I know he's been extremely busy as well. Like Matt has had a lot of medical. He's had a lot of medical problems. And like and just like and just crazy stuff too. So so his leg, he had to get his the where the scar is. He had to get the scar moved because it was really bothering him with his prosthetic leg. And so he did that, and then he got a terrible infection, and that took months and months and months to heal. That gets better, and he's out clearing brush in his yard, and there's a like a small tree that his wife had cut down. It kind of had like a jagged edge onto it, and it stabs him in his other leg. And like we're talking, this wound is like freaking nasty, grotesque. And so then now he's like getting that dealt. He was getting that dealt with, but.
Right.
But right now, Matt also, what he also does is he also calls football games. So he's a football announcer. He does like high school, and I think he just got a college one as well. And so now he also got his own radio station to do that as well. So he's been extremely. I know,
Right.
like, we haven't talked for a while, and he reached out to me recently. He's like, "I'm so sorry, man. I've been so busy." I'm like, dude, it's all right, man. It's all right. But
Ryan knows everybody, by the way. He's like connected to everybody.
I know a handful of people. Yeah.
Brad and Cesar, if you haven't heard his story, you need to listen to it. It's unreal. And it's not far from where I grew up. My parents still reside.
Matt Emch. And
how you spell that last thing? Emph? What?
Okay, I'm gonna put that into our chat. So Matt,
put it in there.
Emch, and his channel is called Planet 412.
Dang, I mean, everybody here was blowing up like we love Matt. So
yeah.
All right,
Matt, like so what Matt did was he went and did all these rounds on other people's shows. Like he was on Tony's as well. He wasn't on Tinfoil Hats, but he was been on a lot of shows. And he was on one show that's like hit like almost 1 million views on his story. Then he started his own channel. His own channel just went just like it blew up. I think he's at like 15,000 subscribers on his. I think he only does YouTube. He doesn't go to audio. But
and you said because of this one story that he told.
One story, yeah.
Wow.
It was when he was, I believe he was 14 years old, and him and 3 other guys experienced this story. Yeah, I had him on. Like my one friend Blake, who has his own podcast called Mountain Man Explore the Truth. He had interviewed Matt and introduced me to Matt, and me and Tom from when we had the Lost Frequency podcast, and we interviewed Matt, and then from there, Matt and I just hit it off. We hit it off. We did some work together. With another podcast as well. We kind of did like what we're doing now. We had like this group conversations, but that kind of fell through. Not me and Matt, but the other podcaster was. We had issues, so everything kind of fell to the wayside, and we never really picked back up doing shows together. But we have done some odd shows together. And he actually met, like I said, he messaged me, reached out, and he's like, "We got to do some more lives." I was thinking about reaching out to him tonight to come on, but which is strange because you're just talking about him. I was actually going to reach out.
Synchronicities.
Yeah, exactly. But he's doing something with his family. So I was like I saw him post something on Facebook. I'm like, I'm not even going to reach out to him. But Planet 412, great guy.
Dang, yeah. I mean, I'm sold.
and Rye's also friends with Grimerica, right?
Oh yeah. Graham from Grimerica is like one of my best friends. Actually, it was we met at he's Canadian. We met doing before he did Grimerica. It was me and 3 other guys. We met at this meditation, and we just kind of kept going to this meditation. And we just kind of developed a relationship, and we ended up becoming like really, really good friends. Like I would say, Graham is one of my best friends as well. And so I've had Graham on the show a couple of times on one of my lives, and then I just did an interview with him as well. But I really, I've asked him like, "Hey, you got any time to come on?" But he is Grimerica puts out a lot of content.
Yeah, and he's also on Union of the Unwanted as well. So like, or sometimes I don't know if he's always on there, but so I know he's doing all these other shows as well. So.
Yeah, they're doing quite well because they put out what's called Adult Brain, where Graham does the audiobooks, and they find books that are in the what is that, the free domain kind of thing, and he records them and does the audio for all these books. And though they did one book, I'm not going to mention the name, but they got kicked off of Amazon or Audible for it. They lost everything, and they lost like halfway through the month, and they weren't paid out. So they lost. They were making some good bank on it, and they lost a fair bit. So they actually started their own thing, and they started a podcast called Adult Brain, where you can subscribe to it, and you can get these books, and they're fantastic books that they have.
I saw that. I was wondering what that was. So they're on Amazon. what is it called? Amazon Audible? What is it?
They were. I don't know. Are they back on?
No, I thought they did something else where they started, but I was interested. I was like, oh,
well, what they had to do is someone else had to create a new account, like someone that wasn't either Darren or Graham had to create a new. So it was Darren's now wife. She had to create a new account, and they were going to try, re-releasing the books through there, but keep that one away. Yeah,
Smurfy, my wife is Chicano. Are you Chicano as well? She doesn't claim that though. I guess you have to claim it to be technically a Chicano. She's half Mexican, so
yeah. So it's interesting. So yeah, by all means, if you guys ever need anybody, or if you, like I said this to Cesar, I said this to Brad as well, so Nick as well. If you go through my library and you're like, oh, can you hook me up with this guy? I'll be more than happy to send you that person's contact info.
Hey, believe me, I will.
and Randall Carlson, though, I had Randall on, and I really would like him back. But that one's a tough one. That one was pretty tough. I am going to be having Gary Wayne back on. I was talking to Brad about that. I'm going to have Gary Wayne back on Tuesday, so I'll be doing that interview with Gary Wayne. He is. I don't. If you guys haven't heard of him, he is a wealth of information.
Yeah,
he wrote the book.
Scheduled with me in January.
What's that? Sorry.
I scheduled with him for January. He's so busy. It was booked out a ways, but yes, I'm familiar with Gary Wayne. It was Gary Wayne and Ryan Peterson who kind of were my Nephilim OG educators.
Yes. Thanks to Shadows for that. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, Shadows, you the man or girl, chick, whatever.
But yeah, so yeah, when you say you had to book out Gary Wayne, so I set up this one when I did my previous interview with him. So when I did my previous interview, which was like maybe in May or April, I set up this one for October. So yeah, you are right. Yeah, you have to book him out way in advance. But he is a wealth of knowledge, and I'm really not sure what I want to talk about this one. I the last one was not the direction I wanted to go, but it did fantastic. I'm nearing 40,000 views on that one, which was amazing. But this one, I'm just going to let it go maybe as well. We'll just have a conversation.
Like I was looking at his website and, he has like the table of contents and stuff for his books. So I kind of was looking a little bit at that to get some ideas and maybe, some questions to ask him. Because he has a lot of, like you said, he's a wealth of information and there's a lot of interesting topics he discusses in his books. Yeah,
that's exactly it. But I found that everybody, like a lot of the other shows were all about the same thing. And I'm like, okay, I need him to talk about something different. Right. And that's the way we went. We went somewhere different and it was really good. We started talking about the pantheon of gods and it was a really, really interesting conversation. So I definitely say Brad and Cesar, look him up. He is a wealth of information. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Dude, I try to do that too. When somebody comes up, I've been learning to do that anyways, to talk about something that maybe nobody else has talked with them about. Because I get pigeonholed into 33rd parallel, which I'm fine with, obviously. But like I have a lot I can talk about with a lot of
Brad is much more than just 33. Brad is.
And when I look at,
I'm sorry.
And when I looked at the table of contents and stuff, I was trying to look for things other people weren't picking up on. Some of the other topics that he wasn't like talking about on other shows. So I was trying to find differences still, but just get an idea of some topics maybe that he hadn't spoken about on other shows. Because I've listened to a ton of shows that he's been on because I'm so fascinated with his research.
Well, also Rye himself has had a lot of stuff happen to him. I mean, crazy stuff. So like you could probably talk to him about some glitches in the Matrix and all kind of stuff, man. And
UFOs, two UFOs
triangle UFO too, right?
What's that? Sorry,
didn't you say you had a triangle UFO encounter?
Two triangle UFOs that merged into one, and then at the same time, that's when I saw that plasma cloud in the sky. Yeah, and then the UFO off the balcony here, and then numerous paranormal encounters. Numerous.
Dang,
Yeah,
man.
including like a pot dropping the other day. Didn't you say something like?
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So this was crazy. So I'm gonna hang on. Give me a second. Just I had this. My daughter and I. My daughter was sitting at the table and eating because she takes forever to eat. And I'm just gonna share these pictures here. So
I see your comment, Smurfy. And by the way, I meant Chicana, not Chicano. I know that's a masculine.
Good point. Good point.
Yeah. But she said Chincano. Oh, I got you.
So my daughter and I were sitting, and my daughter was sitting at the table eating, and I was sitting at the couch on my phone, and there was we had these two glass containers, exactly the same, okay, and the one exploded on the table, went everywhere, and of course I was like, my rationale was my daughter dropped something and broke something, but I swear in my peripheral, because my head was down looking at my phone, but in my peripheral, I swear I saw something drop. Okay. And my daughter says the exact same thing. She said, I thought something dropped, is what she said. And I'm gonna
wait. So you're sitting at a table and then you're looking down and something just drops like this.
So hang on, I'll show you here.
Oh, you recorded it. Nice.
No.
Oh,
I would love to say I recorded it, but no. I took a picture of the aftermath. Okay. So this is the aftermath. Okay.
Dang.
So my daughter was sitting here. My daughter was hang on, let's just get this little bit bigger. So my daughter was sitting up over here. I was sitting at a couch over here, kind of thing. There's a couch that faces this table, and she was sitting here eating with their TV remote watching. And this is the one glass container. So let's zoom in. So there's the one glass container, and this one was sitting right here. And this one had this like crumbled cheese in it, okay? And this fork was sitting on the container, was sitting like inside the container, and it just exploded. Now, when I said I swear something in my peripheral saw something drop directly in this area.
Yeah,
okay?
where's the thing that dropped? It's just like I saw something, but there's nothing there.
That's exactly it. I saw something, but there was nothing there.
Oh,
and like I said, like you can see it. It's like bits of glass everywhere, and it went everywhere. Like it just went woof. Like
so right. Was there any music playing at the time?
My daughter was watching TV.
Okay, but was there you know how sometimes glass just like breaks because of a high note or something? Was there any music playing?
Because you're matching the frequency, because you are matching the frequency, right?
Right.
Yeah. So if you hit the exact frequency that was created at, you will cause it to disintegrate. Okay.
So was that happening?
No, it was just a regular TV show. There was nothing high going on or anything. And that being said, like granted, there was the exact same other glass container sitting right beside it.
That's true.
Yeah, and like I have strange things happen all the time.
What do you think you were, if you can remember, what were you thinking in that moment when were you thinking about of something when that thing exploded?
No, I was, so remember how you weren't here, Cesar, but I said I deleted a bunch of like games that were distracting me. That was it. I was playing a game on my phone. So I was literally head down, playing a game on my phone, being distracted.
You were relaxed playing it.
Yeah. And my daughter was sitting and watching TV, relaxed. And it was just, and what is that? There is a word for when something reappears or comes out of nothing. There is a psychic phenomena, or that when something like maybe some sort of spiritual being manifests or
materialize.
Yes, materializes something. But there is a word. It starts with an A. I know. I forget what this
apparition.
appearance.
Apparition is a being, but there is a there is a word that is very similar to that, where something they're able to materialize something out of nothing.
So do you think something materialized out of nothing to then impact that glass, and then it went away again?
That is my only rational thought. Yeah.
I mean, how bad was that cheese in that crystal container? Like, somebody said, "Fuck this."
And you know, like, okay, so those containers were in the fridge, but they were out of the fridge for like 45 minutes. So it wasn't like a extreme temperature change that caused it to explode as well, because that, you know, that could be a possibility, but not to that degree. You know, something warmed up. If you froze something really, really cold and then you brought it out into an extreme heat temperature, then it could. You know, right now we're not in extreme heat, so it's about, you know, 34 degrees Celsius. What is that in Fahrenheit? Probably like 99, 98 degrees Fahrenheit.
Pick a number.
Yeah, we'll say 96. I'm gonna go with 96. It just seems like a number to come up with.
Same here. Yeah, that's a good one.
But Rise had some glitches in the Matrix where he's seen some stuff at the grocery store. It looks like gears turning and all that stuff. And
gears turning.
That was a very recent one as well. Yeah,
like a rip in the fabric of reality, and he could see.
Oh, that one I heard. That one I heard.
Gears on the other side.
Yeah, the whole rip in space. I think I heard.
No, I wouldn't say gears. It was more like big industrial fans, like just turning, like
just like right in front of you, like in your field of vision.
Yeah, and it wasn't like in a periphery. It was like I could see this, and it was. A rip in reality is the best way I can describe this, because it was like, I don't know.
Were you looking at a rip, and then through the rip you saw these fans, or you saw the fans? Correct. So you looking through. So you were looking, through the rip to see something else. Damn.
Yes.
So like you said, sorry, go ahead.
It sounds a lot like Ezekiel. The thrones, the angels. And then are you guys familiar with the Flammarion print, where it was a engraving, and it has the guy like peeking beneath the veil in the starry sky?
Yes.
So, and he's peeking beneath the veil, and there's the wheels, or the, thrones looking images on the other side of that veil. And when you were describing that, it made me think of that.
Was there like didn't you see they were static too or something?
It was like when I say rip, it wasn't like a fine thing. It was like these lights were okay. Here's the best way to describe it: stare at the sun for like 10 minutes, and then look, and then look away, and then you have like these like really intense lights that it's kind of like it's not really what you're seeing. Like, well, no, this is the wall, but why am I still seeing like there's trailers of these lights? Like, you stare at a really bright light, and then you look at the wall, and you're like, you can see these trailers. That's what it looked like, on kind of like on the edges. But when I say it was a rip, like it started off like this way, like small, and would go bigger and bigger and bigger, and it kind of went like this. It started small, and it went bigger and bigger like this. And I was like, what the hell is going on? Like, I was like checking my eyes. I'm in the middle of the grocery store, and I'm checking my eyes. Like, is it this eye? Is it this eye? No, it's both. One thing I didn't do was go like this to see if I could still see it with my eyes were closed, to see if it was actually like that. But I was, like methodically, like, okay, left eye, I can see it with my left eye. Right eye, I can see it with my right eye. But that's not to say maybe I could see it only with one eye, but I could see it even with my eyes were closed. I can't say. Oh, and I got the word. I got the word that I was looking for. Apport.
Oh, yeah. It's kind of like apparition. It is apparition.
It's the very, very
word
close.
Of apparition. Yeah.
Yes. And this is what I saw. And then in the background, like it wasn't like they were right there. It was like further back. It looked like big, huge industrial fans turning, like some sort of like cooling fans but they were turning really slow. Like, and it looked very rusty and watery too. Like not watery, like but like very humid, like as if there was a lot of water in the area. Like like some sort of abandoned warehouse. That would be the best way, an abandoned warehouse.
Have you ever thought about looking at the history of that building to see if it was ever?
It didn't matter. I left the building. I can still see it.
Oh. Damn.
My cousin was telling me a story the other day. He said he was using a bathroom peeing, and he lives right beside the graveyard where my dad's buried at, like literally right beside where my dad's buried at. And he said he was peeing and he saw this like hand like reach beside him.
That's not good.
And he said the hand was completely staticky. He could see an arm and it was a hand and it was completely staticky. But like you couldn't really see it, but you could see it was kind of faded a little bit. And he said it reached over and it like flicked the blinds. And he said he saw the blinds move at the same time of the arm flicking it. And so when you said that about I thought you'd mentioned static before, that reminded me of that.
Yeah.
Like entities
so
live in a static.
I will tell you, it's just so hard to describe what I saw because how do you have words for what you saw? And this wasn't like a quick little apparition or quick little thing that I saw. This lasted for like 10 to 15 minutes.
It's Smurfy. Okay.
And what else was I going to say? I had something else I was going to say, but yeah, no, it's crazy.
Two Shadows says he is 100 or 200% man. He said, "Don't get it twisted." He said, "I ain't no woman."
Acknowledged.
Yeah, for sure. Two Shadows. Thank you, sir, for that donation to Rye, because all these little bit of monies help. You know, we all got programs to pay for and stuff, and it's a lot of time, man. I pretty much try to do this at night when my kids are going to bed. 9 o'clock, and so I'm missing a lot of bedtimes with them and stuff like that. So we it's a lot of work. It's a lot of extra hours at night. It's a lot of money for softwares. It's a lot of missed time doing other things. So for you guys helping out just a little bit, man, it's a big deal. Because it really just to pay the internet bill, it helps out a little bit. Because we don't really, and I was talking with Paul about this too, is like we get shadow banned. And so it's not like we could just make tons of money from YouTube. Paul has 50,000 followers on YouTube. And he said, most people make $10 for every 1,000 views. He makes like $2 or something like that, because he's shadow banned pretty much.
Yep.
And he said they flood his YouTube channel with like every episode has like 50 ads in it. And so like they're doing these things to him to prevent people from watching his content and stuff. So any little bit of money helps out in, getting these things going, man. And so, thank you for that, Two Shadows. And usually DJ Tyler Radio drops some and everybody else. So you guys are the best for doing that.
Yeah. And Diana as well. Diana is a supporter of the channel as well. She's on the
Diana,
Patreon as well. The only issue with YouTube I am is that spit it out right. So YouTube, once you get monetized, they have to mail you a PIN number. Okay. Then you input that PIN number, and that means like, boom, you're in.
Yep.
Well, let me tell you about mail in Mexico.
Oh, dude. Okay?
Tell me. I want to know.
No, listen, I mess with Google for a living. That's what I do for a living. And they they do this to everybody. So it's not just Mexico. They're doing this to everybody.
But I mean, like, mail in Mexico is horrendous. So I actually, so speaking of Graham, so I was getting all my mail sent to Graham's house back in Canada. And so he's like, I'll mail it to you because I needed something. I think it was a credit card. I was getting a credit card or a new credit card. And I'm like, don't mail it. Like I'll pay for the money to DHL it. Don't worry about it. And he's like, no. And he ended up sending, he's like, no, I sent it priority mail. I'm like, oh my God, no, it doesn't matter. So it left Canada. It was gone in Canada in like a day. And then 3 months later, it shows up in Mexico. And I was surprised that it showed up. So that
so wait, so I don't get it. Is it that they're just slow?
It's super slow, or it just might not even show.
That's how it was in the military, Cesar. You know how we used to get shit? It would be stolen off the trucks before it got to us.
Okay. So that's what's happening over there too. Okay. I get it. Yeah. I was like, where is it getting lost in transit? Okay.
But Google will purposely, like, you can, if you're like a conspiracy type of channel and you request a pin to be monetized, good luck. You might not ever see that. You might not ever see that shit.
Fair enough. Nick's just shared this. Yes, this right up here. Look at that.
Oh, is that what that was? Oh, cool.
And
What the
look
heck?
at those
That's
wheels, those big.
Does that look like what you were looking at?
It could be. It's
Isn't
very
that like a water wheel or something like that?
like
Yeah, that looks like a water wheel, but yeah, just two big.
I said,
vans or
like
wheels.
these were big, huge, like rusty metal blades just going around very slowly. And it was, I would say, like when you're saying looking through, and like this right here,
Yeah.
that like these kind of drawing like this, like, oh, we're just gonna do this. I would be like, dude, that if I was to draw it, that would be maybe a way that I would draw it. Maybe like this kind of shit, trying to draw what I saw.
It looks like what you were talking about. I mean, like, and
Wow.
unless you were sure that it was rust, it could have been wood, from your it could have been like wood, because those wood. No, it's not wood.
No, 100%. This ghetto ass world we live in is made of rusty vans.
metal.
You know what I mean? That's 100% true.
Cool.
I need to
That's pretty cool.
save that image. Yes.
Yeah, collect it.
Oh, of course. So that's the thing I do is that my dreams, or I do keep my own personal timeline for things that have happened to me in my life. I keep a timeline, and I will find pictures that will represent the things that I saw. Like, okay, this is the closest thing that I saw. Like, I can't do it for all my dreams, but a lot of my dreams, I'll find pictures and put them into my dream journal and just be like, yeah, this is what I saw.
Yeah. I give you credit for recording all that stuff. I mean, I would probably it's like I'll probably do it for like 2 weeks, and then I'm just like, like. So, how long have you been doing that? How long have you been recording or drawing these dreams?
Okay, so my first dreams that so I've been doing it for a while, and I lost some, but I started the ones that I did find an older dream journal from 1999, and I did that one. But when I really got into it was 2012.
That seems to be a point when a lot of things started happening, by the way. 2012 seems like the magic number for like things to happen in this world. It seems like a lot of people woke up in 2012. When was Harambe killed again? Wasn't it somewhere around there, 2015 or 2014?
That's a gorilla, right? The gorilla?
Yeah, that was the gorilla. Yeah.
I don't
Wait, is that the gorilla that talked or something?
No, it saved the kid, or protected the kid that fell in the thing, and they shot him in the zoo and somewhere Ohio or something. I can't remember, but it was somewhere like that. Cleveland, maybe, I don't know. But
it was so
made me sad.
12 years. So right now it's up to 12 years that I've been recording those.
So okay, do you sit down and go through them at a certain point, and what do you do with them?
Okay, so I usually record them in an easy location, so such as my cell phone. I'll type it out my cell phone, and then I will at that point, maybe I might find pictures at that point, or when I'm typing them out, like I'm just copying and pasting them, that's when I'll be like, oh yeah, this picture would really represent that. Sometimes I will draw out pictures, but now that AI is getting good, I could really just use AI. But so a lot of times I will draw out pictures, like there's like geometric shapes of rooms and whatnot, and I'm like, oh, this is how this room looked, and I'm like, I need to draw it out. Or there'll be like a detailed floor layout or a plan of directions of places that I went, and I'll kind of draw out these directions of like a campground or something like that I was in.
Very cool. Dang, that's, again, more power to you, man. That's awesome.
Nix, you can go anytime, by the way. We don't mean to hold you hostage, but you're adding so much to the conversation. It's awesome. You there? Are you muted?
Yeah, I don't know.
I was muted. Sorry about that. So I don't know if you guys have iPhones, but I think it was like a couple updates ago they came out with a journaling app. So maybe I can try to journal some of my dreams.
Yeah, I don't use an iPhone, but yeah, that's what I do. So WhatsApp really works for me though, because you can WhatsApp yourself, and then of course it's on your computer as well. Like you have I have the web version of WhatsApp on my computer, and so I can just WhatsApp myself, and then I'll just copy paste it, throw it into my Word document, and then I catalog them by year, so they're by year. But then I also have a main master one, which I copy and paste and put them all on it, and I think it's around I'm close to 450 pages into it. I've typed out dreams into that.
Well, be careful, Nick. You record your dreams on your app, and they're watching you.
Hey, listen,
they're watching you all over, man.
Right.
Wanna
Like,
yell
Something
from,
you can avoid it at this point.
she's got a great idea. Let's take it.
one-on-one from or Wanna Yella from the 101 show. He told me don't write shit down, that is make it come into a reality, so be careful.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
He's all about
yeah.
it. He studies the occult and all that stuff, so he knows these spells where you're casting spells when you write this kind of stuff down. That's why I think when you do to-do lists, they get done, because you are
you're casting spells, if we kind of break it down, you're spelling, and then your grammar is grimoire, it's
and cursive writing.
Cursive. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's one thing because you curse. You can curse with your cursive. Yeah.
Dang. My mind just got stuck for a second. I heard the spelling, and then I heard the grammar, and then you said cursive. Cursive and it's cursing. I was like, oh dang! I just love to play on words on that. It makes sense.
Caesar's mind just had those big giant rusty wheels turn.
It's that is crazy, man. I heard that the English language is the most limited language. It's the worst language because a lot of stuff just doesn't make sense. A lot of the words that we use are just you can have
there's a lot of
inversion, and you could take one word that means 10 different things,
so
whatever.
So I don't know if you know that, Cesar. I'm actually an English tutor by day.
Oh yeah. Okay, so
when I'm teaching this, I'm like, I'm sorry, there are so many words that mean so many different things. One word can mean, or even phrasal verbs. We'll say phrasal verbs. There's okay, this is definition 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And it is very limited. It is very limited.
Yeah. I saw an episode on Tinfoil Hat one time where a guy was talking about all of the words are prefixed to have certain meanings, AR words, or you always see arms, army, they're and it's related to some
Armageddon.
Yeah, Armageddon. It's always related to war, right? What is it? Ares, the god of war?
Ares is the god of war,
right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Everything is always named after.
He owned the planet. Well, Mars was also, that was connected to him.
Yeah, it depends if you got your Greek or your
exactly which methodology you're following and everything. And coincidentally, Mars, part of the Anunnaki story was there was a war that Anunnakis came from Mars to Earth. So it's a lot of war related to that planet and that name.
Have you ever seen the movie
Pan and Panic too?
Right.
What?
Pan, the god Pan and Panic.
I never heard of him. Wow.
Yeah, all these prefixes come from these Greek gods. This is mythology, basically. It's interesting.
It is really interesting. I was going to say the movie John Carter. I know it bombed in the box offices.
I love John Carter.
I love it too. I've read the books. Their books are really interesting. The Princess of Mars. Very fascinating movie. I love the concept of it, and I was. It's too bad that it was that it did so poorly, because they could have. There was so many books that they could have pulled from, but we'll see if it gets remade. If it does, hopefully it'll be good.
Yeah, John Carter was a good movie. Very interesting.
I would like to do an episode about some of these metaphysical movies. If anybody ever wants to do some metaphysical movie homework and then just talk about some of these crazy movies, there's a lot of stuff in there that they talk about in these movies that I think are being shown to us on purpose. So there's I can't even think off the top of my head, but there's a lot of them. I'll send you guys a list.
I've got one that I swear by, and I've been meaning to rewatch it again. I've watched it, a bunch of times, but it's called Dark City. I don't know if you ever heard of Dark City.
Oh yeah. No, I just started watching Dark City. That's the
what was that, Nix? Sorry.
Yeah, I've heard of that one.
Okay.
Is that the one?
Yeah, it was
Apple
like
TV?
in '99, I think.
I believe so. Yeah. What was that, Brad?
And this isn't a new one. Then let me look it up. Dark City.
So Dark City is this city that is so interesting. It's always dark, and at a certain time, usually around midnight, the whole place stops. Everybody stops and they go to sleep, and then they come in and they are injecting memories into people. They're conducting this experiment, like these what do they call that? What was it called? That the screen memories. They're putting new memories into people, and they're trying to find a way so that these entities can inhabit these people and prolong their race, their culture. Now, these people have all been abducted and they put onto this flat plane, this flat city. And it's really, really interesting. So one of the persons comes awake. He wakes up during this time when he's supposed to be sleeping. And it's all a story about there. And it's about this guy learning how to use their magic, which is called cubing. They can cube, and it's kind of like they can send out from the third eye. They can manipulate objects. They can make things happen, and it's so fascinating. So fascinating. I love that show.
There's a movie.
It's a show.
What's that?
It's a show or a movie?
No, movie. It's called Dark City. Really. It's a dark movie because it is dark, but and everybody remembers this one location called Shell City. Everybody wants to go to or Shell Beach, Shell City or Shell Beach, and no one can remember really clearly. It's this vague memory. Everybody remembers Shell Beach, but they don't remember. They don't know how to get there. But he finally finds a way how to get there, and it's a brick wall with a billboard on it, and that's all it is. And Kiefer Sutherland's in it, and Kiefer Sutherland works.
Love him.
He works with the aliens or these beings. I forget the name of them, but they would inject the memories into this location, into the third eye location as well.
Well, the 13th floor is another one. I think we both mentioned these before on the show, by the way. But the 13th floor was another one of those movies. It's about the Matrix, basically, and it's from like 1998 or something like that, before the Matrix came out. The movie The Matrix came out, so it's a really interesting movie as well. And it's like dream within a dream kind of thing, or Matrix within a Matrix kind of thing. I've
never seen the 13th floor.
You got to check it out. It's pretty good, man. A lot of these movies are, again, they're very telling. That's why everybody, it's actually, in my opinion, they're not predictive programming. They're manifesting. They're trying to get us to manifest these things into reality. So that's
I remember you saying that. I think that's a high probability that could be it. That they're not. It's not predictive programming. It's just they're trying to program you to create it.
To create it, yeah.
Which in end is predictive programming.
Would be another one.
What's
Constantine?
That?
Constantine.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
There's one on Apple TV that came out. It's called Dark Matter. That's a good show as well.
Yeah, Dark Matter is good. Yeah, I saw that.
It's
and then of course there's Black Mirror as
Black Mirror is
Oh my God, Black Mirror is legit.
Yeah.
I think we all agree that we like that one.
I'm currently watching Grotesquerie on Hulu. It's by the makers of American Horror Story. And it's about a nun and a detective that team up for like these killings that seem to be a bit like I guess kind of along the lines of like Seven. Yeah, ritualistic, but like, if you remember the movie Seven, I feel like it's got kind of that vibe in it. So, but it's and it like biblical references and stuff. So it will be interesting to see where this goes, where they go in the storyline. But I'm enjoying it so far.
Yeah, I love this kind of stuff. Yeah. I like these like indie movies, these indie, time travel type movies or metaphysical type movies or shows, because you don't ever hear, they don't have like commercial success, but they're always like really good. Like I never heard of the 13th floor until like a 3 or 4 years ago, and I was like, oh, this has been out for like 20-something years.
I think Two Shadows just mentioned A Dark Song. You can watch that on TV. And that is probably, and if you talk to occult practitioners or practicing magicians, that is a very accurate portrayal of the Abermelin ritual.
Really?
Yes.
That seems to be like the occult seems to be like your area of expertise. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that's one of them. Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I've gone down various rabbit holes over my years. I think when I was younger, it started off like with UFOs and the paranormal and cryptids and true crime, and I keep going. So it's like, okay, well, now I started like listening to podcasts and stuff and learning more about the cult, and now I researched that too. So yeah, but no, I watched that because they talked about how accurate they portrayed that ritual, although it's a ritual that takes 8 months. Crowley attempted it and was not successful, but the point of the ritual is to summon your guardian angel so you can request a wish. And in this movie, this woman lost her child to teenagers who sacrificed him in a satanic ritual, and she wanted to summon this guardian angel for revenge, but things turned out quite differently than what she anticipated. So I don't want to spoil it.
Nix, so I gotta ask, so since the cult thing is like your thing, does that also mean you like do it or something? Or
no,
oh, come on, man.
no, I'm actually no.
I gotta ask.
I'm actually
I gotta ask.
No.
Okay.
No. Well, no, that's a good question. So I more research it to expose it. I do know some practicing occultists. They're not doing anything wrong or like anything dark, but you're seeing so much of it in entertainment and pop culture, and it seems to be like negative connotations, and so that's what I kind of talk about. I also like you weren't on yet, but I'm going to be doing a show for Brad where I talk about the different types of Satanism there is out there, because I'm getting really tired of hearing people say, oh, well, they're just atheists. Well, there's more than just atheistic Satanism. There's actually theistic Satanism too, where they actually do worship Satan, or if you look at Luciferianism, Luciferian. So, I wanted to bring that up and then talk about some ritualistic crimes, and also how I feel the FBI, Kenneth Lanning did the Lanning report in the 90s, I think it was, pretty much saying like that children weren't being abused in ritualistic ways, and, just saying it was the satanic panic. Now, granted, I'm sure there was hoaxes, just like there's in everything, but I think it is very disheartening to hear them say that it didn't happen, where we now have cases that, clearly say, negates that. And I think it needs to be revisited.
Dang, that's powerful, man.
Wow. Well, it's too real too. It's like that kind of stuff. Like
that's what I mean by powerful. It's like, wow,
yeah,
yeah. Well, good, man. Hey, at least somebody knows about it, man.
Well, that reminds me of like the show True Detective. When I saw True Detective, it really bothered me because I was like, that's too deep. It's too real. It's too
that's based off a true case.
I did not know.
Yes.
But the first season of True Detective was that was the best. Everybody could agree on that. That's watched the show.
Yeah,
for
sure.
Dude.
Yeah, Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey.
I'm probably one of the few who have not seen it.
Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey star in it. It was great. It was like you couldn't top it. And then the second season was like, but the first one was like the best, dude.
Okay, I need to see that.
Yeah, it was really good.
It was based off the Hosanna Church in Louisiana, where a pastor walked into a police department and admitted him and the few perishers that were left there were ritualistically and sexually abusing children.
Dang.
Yeah, again, it's dark, but again, it's like real stuff, man. Because like that's the problem I have with reality stuff. Like I accidentally saw somebody sent me back when emails used to be viral emails. You used to get like the the 7,000 links that you had to click. And I saw a video of I clicked on a link and I saw a guy like shoot himself at a cop station. And I was like, okay, that's too real. Like I don't want to see people bounce off the cement or shoot. That stuff bothers me on a different level. I could talk about Bigfoot all day.
Yeah,
like,
back in my day, there was something, and you could rent this at the video store. It was called Faces of Death, and it was
I knew you were on there.
Yeah, we all saw that.
Oh man, it's like, come on.
And then there was rotten.com.
Yeah, rotten. Yeah. That's where I saw a lot of stuff, and I was like, what in the world, man? This is terrible.
No thank you. Well, guys, I hate to be that person, but I'm gonna have to. Call this.
I have to agree with you.
Yeah, it's my dog has been looking at me for the last like 45 minutes. Like, come on, it's time. And for you guys on the East Coast, it's what, pushing 1 o'clock right now.
Yeah, it's 1 o'clock. The family's already in bed. They're just like, keep it down.
Yeah. for me, it's 10:45 here. Yeah.
Cool. Hey, well, right. Just from me, man. Thanks for letting me just kind of jump in, man.
This was great. This was great. I wanted to do a call-in show, but that happened to Brad and I the first time. Nothing happened, and then the second time we did the show, we had a great show. I'm not saying this was fantastic. Things just happened, and this is what it ended up being. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, I'd rather hear from people than to hear myself talk. You know what I mean?
I think we have great conversations, though. We have great conversations, and I really appreciate that. So, as usual, guys, you're always more than welcome to come back on. If you guys need anything, give me send me a message or anything.
Cool.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
Buddy.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Great. I think that's it. So with that, I want to say, yep. And with that, everyone, keep your curiosity wandering, keep the light lit, and always find your way home.
I look forward to our next adventure together as we navigate the mysteries that lie ahead. Until our paths cross again, keep your curiosity wandering, keep the light lit, and always find your way home.